Can I hear, can I hear from you? Why do you think you, as an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, need to learn social psychology? Can I hear from one or two persons? You can freely unmute yourself and speak. Okay, Richard, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
We were able to just talk now. The other time while Mr. Damola gave us the audience, we were unmuted, so that was why we couldn't talk.
Okay.
So why it is important to learn social psychology as a budding entrepreneur is to be able to navigate the business very well. To me, social psychology is also attached to, like, you have to be in the right mental state when establishing your business or when running your business. So your mental state also matters because there are a lot of things will happen. How are you as a person able to absorb the shock or some road shock that you come across? So that's why the place of social psychology is important in my own layman term and understanding. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, interesting, interesting. Any other person who would love to respond to that, please unmute yourself and speak. Elizabeth, I hardly hear your voice in the class, and I think I want to hear your voice today. Elizabeth, what do you think? As a budding entrepreneur, you need to learn social psychology. Do you have any response to that? Would love to hear it. Don't be shy. Okay, while we wait for Elizabeth, any other person? Rashid, Christian, Lowell, right? Yeah, any other response? Okay. So
Good morning again. My name is Lawal. I
I
want to believe that.
quickly, okay, okay.
Can I go ahead?
Mm-hmm.
As
Go
an
ahead.
as an
Yes,
entrepreneur,
yes.
you are managing human being, and your state of mental well-being is very, very important. So
Mm,
there is need for you to evaluate yourself. So social psychology is very, very key in being
mm,
a successful entrepreneur.
mm. Okay, thank you very much for that, Lowell. I mean, you and Richard, you are correct. I mean, as a business man or woman, as an entrepreneur, you know you are dealing with human beings, and to a great extent, you need to understand the reason behind their attitude or behavior. You need to understand how to communicate with uh, different persons, right? You'll be able to also understand that, I mean, people in Nigeria or in other parts of the world, anyways, people have different upbringings, different cultures, and it's important to know how to, manage and relate with them. So on the screen, I have just a few seven uh, reasons put together. One is understanding the human behavior, to also improve your leadership skills, to enhance your communication skills, to have better decision-making skills, manage diversity and conflict, application and marketing and consumer behavior, enhancing organizational culture. These are reasons and lots more that management students need to learn or have some social psychology skills, right? So it's important that we understand why we need to be in this class and pay attention uh, and be able to comprehend whatever our distinguished trainer today has to teach us. And on this note, ladies and gentlemen, our trainer today, she is a multiple PhD holder, and she has a lot of knowledge to share with us today. As a matter of fact, she's also a beneficiary of so many scholarships, and that goes to tell you how intelligent she is. I mean, it's not easy to get some scholarship. I mean, not just some, to get quite a good number of scholarships to further your education and all that, right? So I'm excited to have her on the call today. And I believe every other person is excited to have her on the call. Okay, and so ladies and gentlemen, let's put a round of applause in the chat room as we welcome our trainer today, Sanctified Arco. As a matter of fact, I loved the name. Okay, this is actually my first time of seeing someone bear that name, and I said to myself, I think my daughter would have to have such name. Yes. All right, so you're welcome to class, please. The class is all over to you now. Please take it up from here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The opportunity, and I'm so excited to be here because just as I said to Miss Edith, sorry, I don't know if it's Mrs. Edith yesterday, I said that I'm always excited, no matter how inconvenient it is, to do a voluntary training. And that's because I'm a product of so many free education platforms and also scholarships, just as she has mentioned. And so in my little way, I'm always excited to give back to society the same way that I've received. So very quickly, I like to see everybody's face. So it's a psychology class, right? And psychology has to do with human behavior. So let's start with understanding our own selves, you know. Yeah, so let's turn on our videos. We'll interact a lot because it's a psychology class. Yeah, and we're going to be practicalizing a whole lot of things. So yeah, turn on your videos and we'll be talking on the go. We'll be talking on the go. We'll be interacting on the go. We would all be doing the class together, you know. So I'm still waiting. I've not seen, okay, just me and Miss Edith has turned on. Mercy Isong, Elizabeth Ogbu, Lawal Kehinde, Ojo Christian, Enioluwa Shegun, Rashid Jalil, and Richard. I want you to turn on your video. I want at least 5 videos before I begin talking. So we have just 2 videos now, meaning 3. So who are the next 3 people? Okay, Richard's hands are up. I don't know why. Are they able to turn on?
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, the video enable is disabled, is not enabled. The video and the chat.
Okay,
Oh.
Damola, can you please enable them to put on their videos as well?
Okay, I'm on that right now.
Okay, so whilst we are at that, the foundation of psychology is our origin. Yeah, the foundation of our psychology is our origin, our background, where you are coming from. Okay, the psychology, your mental makeup is a product of your background, okay, of your history, of your origin. And so we cannot talk about psychology without talking about our maker. Yeah, you cannot talk about psychology without talking about the manufacturer. So how do I say this? You know, the same way that if you want to understand, let's say a fan or an AC, or let's say you just got this new iPhone 16 Pro Max and it's all you're all excited about using it. And let's just say you've never used iPhone before. So you've never used even an iPhone 4 or an iPhone 5 or an iPhone 7 or an iPhone X or an iPhone 11 or 12. And then the first iPhone you're using is, or let's say the first phone you are ever using is an iPhone 16 Pro Max. You know that you need to learn how to use it, yeah? You're not just going to take the phone and begin to operate it. You need to be taught how to use it. And what's the best way to be taught how to use it than to actually look at the manual that the manufacturer provides for it? And as Africans or as Nigerians, we don't do manuals, right? We just take it and rough handle the product, and then before you know, you just hear boy, especially for maybe like TVs or something. And then you now hear us say, oh, it's not good. They sold the fake one to me. But you didn't even look at the manual, you didn't look at how to use it. You just jumped at it and you blew it up. You probably fixed the wrong wire the wrong way, you blew it up, and then now you're blaming the manufacturer. That's what happens when, as individuals, we cannot connect our lives back to the source, and the source is our maker. And so this morning, whether you are Christian or Muslim, it doesn't matter right here. We are humans and we're created by God. So we're going to start by acknowledging our manufacturer. So we're going to have one Christian pray for us and one Muslim pray for us. And then we begin from there. So I can see a Lawal Kehinde and a Rashid Jalil. I believe those are Muslims, right? Am I correct? Lawal Kehinde, Rashid Jalil. I believe you are Muslims.
Yes, Lawal Kehinde is Muslim.
Okay, please go ahead and pray for us.
So I'm going to be praying in the special name of Almighty Allah. We are starting this program this morning. May God Almighty Allah be with each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And may we get the best out of this as we are embarking on today's class. May God Almighty be with each and every one of us. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, so let's have a Christian also pray.
Yeah, my name is Rashid.
So who is praying for us? I see Elizabeth Ogbu. I see.
Are you taking the Christian prayer?
Sorry, I can't hear. It's cracking.
Oh, Christian prayer. Oh.
Okay.
How
Go
about
ahead.
now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Rashid, were you about to take the Christian prayer? Oh, okay. Richard, are you there? Can you take the Christian prayer?
Yes, I'm here. Let's pray.
Okay, great. Okay.
Let us pray. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Our righteous Father, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity you have given to us to be here today to learn. We say be thou exalted in Jesus' name. Lord, we pray as we are learning this course, the grace to have a receptive heart and an understanding mind. We pray you will give to us in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
At the end of it all, Lord, the grace to apply this teaching into our entrepreneurial life. We pray you will give us that grace in Jesus' name. We pray at the end of it all, let us have cause to glorify your holy name. In Jesus' mighty name, I've prayed. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you so much. So as I was saying, you cannot talk psychology without talking about the core of who you are and whom you belong to. And the reason is because your frame and your makeup was designed by your manufacturer, and that your manufacturer understands your design. and only him is able to really give you a breakdown of who you are, what you represent, and the circumstances that help you maximize your potential. All right. So I'm not going to be taking this course the conventional way. I'm not going to come here and just begin to define social psychology to you and all of that. But I'm hoping that after the end of this course, that you would be able to look inwardly and say, I have become a better person. Because the psychology that does not affect you as a person, that does not improve you as a person, is just knowledge that is waste of time. I hope you know that you can gather a lot of information and you read and read and read and become a professor, but you cannot actually add quality to life. You cannot actually make any impact to society, because all you have is a body of knowledge that you've not been able to break down to see how to turn it and utilize those information into wisdom. Because the difference between knowledge is that knowledge is the gathering of information, whilst wisdom is the ability to apply that knowledge, to apply that information that you have gathered. And most of the times, the mistakes that we make as lecturers in learning institutions is that we bombard a lot of people with so much information. And then at the end of the day, there is no impact. These people cannot tell that after teaching me about algorithms and teaching me about algebra and teaching me XYZ and defining social psychology and all of that, how does that make me a better person? How does this make me somebody that can contribute positively to society? Because at the end of the day, that is the crux of civilization and education, that you become a better person for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your nation, for the continent, and even for the world at large. So the moment you're sitting down in a class and you realize that you cannot find how this information that is being given to you or being communicated to you would make you a better person, it is better for you to leave. Unfortunately, this is the reason why you have a lot of people who make impact in society. Talking about people who are world movers and shakers, you find out that they are school dropouts. You know why? They are school dropouts because they came into, not because they are dull, not because they didn't know, how to get good grades and all of that, but they came into class and they were able to decipher that this bulk of information upon information that they are giving to me does not really translate to impact. It's not affecting my person. It's not affecting my persona. It's not affecting the person that I'm going to become in the next 2, 3, 4 years, in the next 10 years. It's not adding value to my person. Any information that is not adding, is not making you a high value person, is a useless information. I don't care who is coming from or whoever is teaching it, but as long as it's not able to make you think about how do I become a valuable person to myself, to my community. It's not making you see possibilities. It's not broadening your mental scope, to see how, what are the things I can do? How can I make impact? How do I leave my footprint on the sand of time? Any information, any education that is doing that is not necessary. And I can tell you for free that the role of every teacher, every lecturer, is not to tell you what to think. I'm not supposed to give you a body of information to help you, or rather that you would go and cram and come and vomit back in the exam hall. That would be total waste of time. I'm supposed to give you a body of information that challenges you, that inspires you to go out there and become a better person. How we know that education has affected a life is that life is inspired is driven, is motivated, okay, becomes passionate, that information creates a burning desire in your heart to go and change your life and change your world. So at the end of every class, if at the end of any class you realize that there is no fire in your heart, there's nothing burning in your heart to say, oh, because of this thing that I've received today, that I've learned today, my community will become a better community. My family will become a better family. My life I'll become a better person. That is total waste of time. And that's why you find that a lot of people, as I said, who are world changers and world movers drop out of school because they realize that this body of information that they are being handed would not help them do anything. So before we proceed, I want to ask you one question. Why do you want to know about social psychology? Because that's the foundation of it. Why do I want to know about social psychology? Do I just want to come here because I want them to write my name and give me one paper certificate, very useless certificate? Because the truth of the matter is that a certificate that is handed over to you and is not showing in your life. I hope you know that you can go through the four walls of an institution, but the four walls of the institution does not go through you. So you can be handed a first class certificate and you come out the same person. You will not be able to do anything. It's so sad to say, but this is the reason why we have a lot of graduates who cannot make anything for themselves if you don't give them a job. The role of education is not to prepare you to become somebody else's servant. The role of education is to liberate you to create your own world. And so just so that your mindset is correct, just in case you are saying, oh, I want to get this certificate so that, you know, by the time I'm done, I can get a job and all of that, you are in the wrong place. The fastest way to get a job, right, to get employed is not to go to school. It's actually to learn a skill. So if you're looking for how to get a job, what you should be thinking about is maybe I should go and learn graphics design, UI, UX. Let me go and learn, you know, IT, things around IT, web design. Quickly, you will get a job. But if you are very, very aware of the current circumstances in Nigeria right now, you will know that going to school and earning a degree cannot get you a job. So education should be able to set you free. And I say this, that, you know, I cannot send my children to school to go and learn so that they can get jobs. And I cannot send my children to a school that I know will not make them high-valued people. And this is so important. I'm hoping that before the end of this class, people will get angry in their spirits and they will be like, you know what, I'm going to create an educational system from scratch to tertiary institution that my children can go through and become world changers. I'm not going to send my child to one regular school where they're just going to go to and come out with computer science degree and start looking for a job of 200,000 up and down. That's what we suffered, but that's not what our children should go through. So just before we continue, I need one person to unmute your mic and tell me, number one, why do you want to learn social psychology? Why do you want to learn social psychology? And then number two, why are you here in this class? Why are you here today? I need one or two people before we go into the class in total.
Okay, Richard, I've seen your chats, your response in the chat room. You might as well unmute and speak. Yes, go ahead, Richard, go ahead.
Hello, Ma, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much. It's my network connection. It's very poor. Yeah. The reason why I want to learn social psychology, as you've said, I'm being charged up already and I'm being motivated with the introduction, is to be able to apply all what I'm being taught here in my day-to-day activities, most especially business, though I don't have a personal business of my own yet, but it will be of great help to me to apply it to my day-to-day life. And peradventure, I get to have my business being an entrepreneur. I will apply them so that I will achieve success. That's why I'm here to learn this course, social psychology.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. Let's clap for him in the chat box. Rashid Jalil says, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Rashid. Then Lawal Kain, they say, wish to be a better manager and be friendly to my staff. Okay, that's it. That's good. Okay, any other person before we proceed? Maybe we should get one more response before we proceed. One response before we proceed, please. Anybody speaking? All right, so we'll just continue. So, you see, let's define social psychology. And then when we have defined social psychology, I believe, hello?
Can you hear me?
Is somebody speaking?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me? It's network.
Yes, please go
This is
ahead.
Rashid. This is Rashid.
Okay, go ahead,
Good
Rashid.
morning. Yeah,
Good
thank you,
morning.
Ma. Thank you. It's very inspiring. In fact, I'm highly inspired this morning. In fact, the reason why I'm here is that there's a lot of knowledge, like you said, a lot of information downloaded. But what I came here for is skill. I know with the skill, I'll be able to deliver those a lot of information. I think that's the reason why I'm here. And then social psychology, the way I look at it is the study of the mind of society, of the people. And in any business, the 90% you interact with is people. So we need to know their psychology. We need to know how they think so that we're able to flow with them in our business. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right. So before you understand people, yeah, you have to first of all understand yourself. And the reason I'm saying this is because as humans, one of the psychological defaults and defects, I would say, that we have is that we tend to be outward in our approach. Please, can you see me?
Yes, we can. Would you be sharing the screen from your end, or we should share?
Okay, maybe you can share.
Okay. Damola, I'm sharing that screen, that slide with you. You can share from your end.
So, as I was saying, one of the psychological defaults, and I would also say defects of man, is that man tends to be outward in its approach, and people who actually would make real and significant impact in society must be people who are inward in their approach. You must be inward in your approach. Let me explain what I mean. You see, it's easy to come here and tell you about social psychology, trying to understand the psychology of human behavior and society, right? But you will find that there are a lot of people, in short, humanity as a whole is an expert in studying every other thing else apart from itself. So we study money, we study arts, we study science, we study gorillas, we study chimpanzees, we understand snakes, fish, even the strangest of animals in the water. We go ahead to understand them. But guess what? An average human would not sit down to look inwardly and actually understand themselves. Guess what? If you cannot properly understand yourself, you would not know how to properly relate with yourself. And once you don't know how to properly relate with your own self, then you will not know how to relate with your world. And so, regardless of all of the information I'm going to pour out here around social psychology, it will become useless. You know why? It's going to be useless because there is no, you are not introspective. So you first of all have to understand yourself. Hello? Sorry, did somebody say something?
I guess that was a mistake. Please continue.
Okay, so maybe we should mute the participants so that there's no distraction.
Yes, yeah, that's done already.
So once there is no proper understanding of who am I, sanctified, what do I represent? Okay, what are my likes? What are my dislikes? What are my turn-ons? What are my turn-offs? Okay, what environments sparks creativity in me? What are my interests? What are the things that put me off? Once I do not understand these things, I would not be able to properly apply information, even though you tell me and teach me everything about social psychology. So it starts from you. It starts from you, all right? It starts from understanding you. And that's why, as a psychologist, I would say to you that it's good to spend some time with yourself every morning. Okay? As a human being, it is very, very good to spend some time understanding yourself. Okay? And if you're a Christian or a Muslim, spend some time to pray. Spend some time to meditate. Spend some time to be alone just with yourself. And this is something that parents knew, right? And even our grandparents. And you will see them, you will see that very early in the mornings or very late at night, you could go out and see your dad or your mom just sitting alone in the quiet under a tree, you know, and the fresh breeze is just blowing them. What are they doing? They are meditating. They are spending quality time with themselves. When was the last time you did that? The social construct that we have today is that people are so busy with every other thing else apart from themselves. Let me tell you what that creates. That creates a society that is filled with zombies. Because the beginning of migrating from your humanity into a zombie is that you are outward in your approach. You are just ahead. You're just moving. You're moving ahead. There's no inward interaction. And that's a very dangerous society. And let me say this to you. There are people who are actively working to ensure that you are an outward person. Because that's how they become powerful. That's how they become rich. As you keep on scrolling mindlessly on Instagram and Facebook, you don't have a mind of your own. You want to think about anything, you run to AI. You can't sit down to think. You don't have the time or the patience to sit down to think about your own self. You are gradually becoming a zombie. You are gradually depending on machines and man-made structures for survival. And yet we come and sit down in class to want to learn social psychology when we don't even understand that we are already selling our souls for peanuts. The crux of social psychology, the crux of psychology rests in understanding the soul realm, and then understanding how to utilize it for your day-to-day life benefits. Okay, so I hope I've been able to create a good background. Now, what is psychology? Scientifically, it is defined as the study of the mind and behavior. The mind, the realm of the soul, and the behavior. It talks about your intellect, it talks about your emotions, talks about your will, your imagination, how you behave, what informs your decision, what powers your behavioral pattern. Why are you behaving the way that you behave? Why do you speak the way that you speak? Why do you think the way that you think? Why are you having the certain kind of dreams that you have? Okay, psychology talks about the internal well-being of a person. And as I said, you cannot do that appropriately without connecting first with your source and then understanding your internal design. Let me ask, is there somebody here who was maybe left-handed, like they gave birth to you left-handed, but your parents flogged you and ensured that you became right-handed? Is there somebody here like that? Is there somebody here like that? Anybody?
I know of someone, but not me literally, but I know of someone that growing up, he was left-handed, but he was corrected with parents understanding, beating to right-handed.
Okay, so do you know why they beat him up to become right-handed?
So he can conform with the societal status.
Yeah, that's it. That's the word, conformity. Because the world fights anything that it does not understand. Okay, so as humans, whatever we don't understand or whatever we don't have control over, we fight it, we destroy it, we devour it. And so most people are born right-handed. Okay, but the moment you have somebody being born left-handed, you find that society does not understand it. Society is afraid of whatever it does not understand and cannot control, so it fights it until it defeats it. That's the reason why Kelawal Kehinde is saying that his father used to be left-handed, but his parents, sorry, I can't see that, but his parents changed it. The reason is why. Is it an abomination? Is it a taboo? Does it make the person less intelligent? As a matter of fact, a lot of scientific research has shown that left-handed people are more intelligent, right? So why? Just because of the issue of conformity. Now, I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about yourself. What are the things that you wish you could do? Who is the person that you wish you would have become? What's the expression that you feel like you should have given to your life, but you don't do it because of what people would say? Because it's not the norm. Not because you fear God, because that's a different conversation. I'm not saying that you would have maybe become an armed robber or become a thief or a prostitute. That's not what I'm saying. No. I'm saying things that don't actually go against values and virtues of society, right? But just asterisk beliefs that people fight. Wow, that's very good. But your Christian is saying that I'm having such an issue at the moment. My daughter is left-handed. Their class teacher wanted to change her to right hand, though I told her she shouldn't. That's very commendable. Guess what? Most of the most impactful people in society have been left-handed people. Most of the most impactful people in society have been left-handed people. So how come society always tries to change it the other way? And you notice that people that are beaten up and forced to change to their right hand, they begin to have identity crisis. They begin to have self-esteem issues. So why does society do that? So just think about it. I want us to talk about just one or two people. Unmute your mic. Tell me something that you feel like you would love to do, but because of maybe society or your parents or peer pressure, you're not able to find expression. You're not able to do that. Can somebody tell me? So let me give you an instance. So I remember that, growing up as a child, there were a certain kind of people that I don't want to mention now, just so that we don't cause any kind of, but there were certain kind of people that I like to reach out to, on the streets. I don't like the way that, they are. So I like to reach out to them and all of that. But, my mother would always warn me and say, these people are dangerous. Don't do it. My parents, people around me will be like, oh, these people, they will do you juju. They will do this, they will do that. But somewhere deep in my heart, I knew that it was right for me to do. Guess what? Because of a lot of pressure of saying, oh, because of all of the things that people were saying, I began to dream. You see now, even your dream has to do with, okay, don't worry, let me not jump. I began to dream that these people were actually harming me. Just because of repeated talks about these people, I began to have dreams around it. That these people, because what they were saying to me consciously was sinking into my subconscious. So I began to see them try to harm me in my dream. And that's how I stopped reaching out to them. That's how powerful society is when it comes to psychology. You can have a firm belief. You can know that this is right. You can know that this is the way to go. But if you let yourself conform, okay, Lawal Kende says, I really want to learn how to drive heavy duty trucks, but they feel most people doing it are stigmatized and seen as low-class people in society. But you know that this is one of the most highest paying skills abroad. Do you know that driving long trucks, understanding how to maneuver your way around or with long trucks is like one of the most high paying skills you can have abroad. But here you have the fear that, oh, you're going to be looked at as a low-class person. So as I was saying, sorry, just a minute. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, let's rush this. Time is of essence and we have a lot to cover. Okay, I hope I've been able to build enough foundation, right? So we've defined psychology as the scientific study of the mind and behavior, right? And it focuses on how people think, how people feel, how they act, both individually and in groups. Now, you see, hello, is somebody talking? Sorry, somebody saying something. So can we hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so we've gone ahead to define psychology, right? And that the key elements of psychology is behavior, observable actions, and the mental processes that has to do with your thoughts, your feelings, and your dream. Now, the first question I ask is, why do you want to study social psychology? Let me give you some of the whys. Some of the whys is that, number one, as a business person, you deal with people. You would not be able to make the most out of people, get the most out of people if you don't know the way that they think, if you don't understand their fears, their failures, their successes, and their pride, if you don't understand their makeup, their internal structure, which is what psychology is really all about, your internal makeup, right? Why you do the things you do, why you behave the way that you behave. Now, understanding the psychology of people, both as individuals and as a group. So you could just simply say that social psychology is just understanding understanding psychology on a societal level. Okay, so from certain communities, people behave in certain ways, and why it starts with individual personalities, and then these individual personalities build into a society. So to understand the big mind of the society, you first of all have to understand the individual mind of the society. Hope you know that society is governed by, what's the word now? I like to call it the big mind. And what I mean is that the collective beliefs and behavioral patterns of all of us put together creates a big mind that drives society. Okay? So let me give you an instance. If we are 10 in an office, or let's say we are 10 in a room, right? And the 10 of us, let's just say there's an AC and there's a fan in that room, right? And let's say 3 people out of that number of people in the room like AC. Some other people like fan, okay? Some other people neither like AC nor fan. Then some other people like both AC and fan. You will realize that the frequency of how much the AC and the fan will be put on or put off there will first of all be disruptions and arguments, right? Oh, put it on. Oh, don't put it on. Oh, put it on at a certain time of the day. Oh, don't put it on at a certain time of the day. There will first of all be that kind of disruption. Then after a while, there now becomes an ecosystem that is created, okay, that gradually now begins to accommodate everybody in the room. That's what I call the big mind. That ecosystem that will now begin to say, okay, this person likes the fan by this time to this time. Why this person likes the AC? Okay, so by this time, can we have the fan on by this time? And then before you know, you have a regulation sort of. Okay, so that ecosystem that is created to accommodate everybody is what I refer to as the big mind. Yeah. So let's quickly look at the historical development of psychology, psychological origins. You know, one of the fathers of psychology, you know, the philosophers are people like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and all of that. They debated the nature of the mind, knowledge, and behavior, and all of that. And then we have Wilhelm Wundt, who was big on structuralism and breaking down mental processes and all of that. So there are a lot of fathers of psychology and all of that. But in today's world, something that I would be really, really, really strong on, because it's something that, you know, is very major on today, is cognitive psychology, cognitive processes, which talks about information processing, how people process information. Because guess what? If I understand how you process information, then I will understand how to present what kind of information to you to help you make what kind of decision that I want you to do. See, to understand the way that people process information is practically to be able to detect their life, is practically to be able to drive their life. So let me give you an instance. I don't know, there's this film, I don't know if you've seen that film, it's a long time ago, where it was a betting company, right? A man had a lot of money and he was going to bet that day. So somebody was going to bet a particular number. I think it had to do with like a sport. I can't remember now if it's football or so. So guess what? That person started conditioning him based on from the time he woke up. Okay, so he woke up with he saw a particular number. As he was driving out, he saw a particular number. Now that person ensured that, that particular number kept appearing to him again and again. Even when he was going to the place where he was going to bet, he saw that number on different cars. That person put a lot of cars with that number on the road. I think it was number 7 or so. And that person, kept showing him number 7, number 7, number 7. The seat he sat down was number 7. Everything was number 7, number 7, number 7. The first player I think he saw on the pitch was number 7. That person kept programming number 7 on him. And then when he was going to bet, guess what number he picked? Number 7. And that was the number that other person who was programming him had put a bet on that he was going to pick. And that's how that person won that bet. Okay, so what am I trying to say? To understand the cognitive psychology of a person or of society is actually to understand, is actually to be empowered, to be able to drive society. Okay, so the reason why people are able to, what's the word now? People are able to make sales to you. The reason why you see a sale on social media, on Facebook, you see a girl or a guy wearing a particular kind of shoe or a hairstyle or a trouser, and then you run ahead to go and get it, is because they have played that video in a certain way that seduces your psychology, that appeals to you, right? That's activate your appetite. That's the word. Because, and they're able to do that because they understand your information processing. They understand, they have studied the way that you think. And there is no better way to actually understand people's psychology than to communicate with them. And that's why marketers are big on speaking. If you must be a good leader, you must be big on speaking. You must be big on communicating, because in communicating, you begin to understand how people think, what they are thinking, how they are thinking it, how they are processing it. And from there, you are able to influence their decision. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a manager, you must be big on communication. For those of us that work, the reason why your managers have one-on-one with you is, what are they trying to do? They're trying to understand you so that they can drive you, they can influence you beyond telling you to do this or do that. They understand your psychology and they're able to, sorry to say, they're able to maximize your mind to make profits for their organization, right? Because that's the job of every manager and HR, to maximize human resources, right? To produce profits for the organization. Okay. So let's look at some early philosophical influences before 1879. We have ancient Greece. One of the places where psychology actually, philosophical influences actually began from was Greece. And even in the Bible, we have mention of them there, where the Bible says that the Greek seek wisdom. They're always after wisdom. And so we have people like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They will always have this long discourse and debate about the nature of the mind, what are people thinking, and all of that. And these people were the founders of things like democracy, leadership. Hello. So these people were the founders of things like democracy, leadership, where a school of thought felt that, some people were born leaders, or some people feel like, no, some people were raised to be leaders. Some people feel like leadership comes with certain characteristics, like when you have charisma, you have blue eyes, you are fair, you are tall, all of those debates, started with the Grecians in the 5th century before BCE, right? And then you have people like René Descartes, who proposed that the mind and the body were separate. Okay, that you and you also have even some even in our religious, that's like Christian or Islamic parlance, that believes that you have a mind, you have a body, that and you have a mind and all of that kind of thing. All of these are just history. I'll just run through the historical development so that we can go into the main thing.
Can you see his screen? Sanctified, can you see his screen?
Yes, I can see it, but I'm using my own.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so let me okay. So I'm in what page is it now? You can just go to page 10. That's where I am now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Damola, please go to page 10 here.
The next page. Abby? Sorry, just a minute.
Damola, go to C. Page 10 is C. Okay.
So psychology began to take like a more formal body in the 20th century, when major school of thoughts began to actually form. And so we began to have things like behaviorism, by some of the founding fathers like John Watson and B.F. Schema, and who argued that psychology should study only observable behavior, not the mind, right? And then they also focused on conditioning. And then you have some other school of thoughts that said, oh, you cannot really study observable behavior without understanding the mind, because what we see is bettered out of what we can't see. In other words, what people do is bettered out of what they are thinking, which is which sits with the mind. So we had all of those debates and stuff like that. Then in the late 20th century, these cognitive behaviors, cognitive revolution, biological psychology, evolutionary psychology, positive psychology, neuroscience, and technology now began to emerge, where psychology was now merging with medicine. Okay, so before now, when the likes of Aristotle, Socrates, and the rest were talking psychology, they were talking psychology as a standalone. But now, in the late 20th century, psychology and medicine began to marry. Okay, where statements like, and school of thoughts like, your psychology could even determine your health. That if you were angry or bitter or had hate in your heart for someone, it could begin to develop into ulcer, heart problems, that all of the major sicknesses or health issues that people had were actually tied to their psychology. For instance, you could have somebody a glutton because they were trying to fill up a need, a psychological need. Okay, when people are depressed, that they could begin to eat too much. One of the ways that people, what's that word now? One of the ways that people coping mechanism, yeah, that's the word. That people's coping mechanism could be different things: drinking, smoking, eating too much, which could now lead to physical organ failures or organ issues. So all of those marrying between psychology and health and biology and all of that, medicine began to happen in the late 20s, right? And then people began to, scientists began to, number one, this focus shifted back to mental processes, okay, memory, problem solving, and language, and all of that. Okay, that if we can trace a problem back to mental process, to the mental process, why is the person thinking like this? Then we're able to correct the behavior. Then also biological psychology that studies the brain, genetics, neurotransmitters, dopamine role in motivation, So for instance, that somebody can, dopamine is what creates excitement, that helps you do stuff, that motivates you to do stuff, which is one of the reasons why people take cocaine and all of that, right? So biological psychology basically studies, what are the elements that affect the brain, that motivates the brain, and genetics also, and neurotransmitters. For instance, somebody is in a low state, how can they suddenly get excited? And then people began to study things like how music affects the brain, how coming into a room that is well lighted up and has a lot of colors can affect the brain, just psychological things, but having biological impacts, more like psychological phenomenons that were biological catalysts, So for instance, two people can wake up in the morning, and then if you put an earpod on the both of them's ear, and then from morning till noon, you just start playing burial song, low songs of depression in the ear of one person, and then the ear of the other person, you're just playing songs of thanksgiving, rejoicing, happiness, joy, and all of that. You realize that those two people can have the same net worth, they have the same problems, they have the same challenges, they have the same things to thank God for. But by 12 noon, because of that insistence of either good music or bad music that you are playing on their ear, you realize that one person will just become depressed and the other person will be so excited. Not natural, not necessarily because something has happened, but just because of what you have conditioned their brain to think and to believe as you kept on pressing that music into them, right? And this is one of the reasons why have you entered some maybe salons, maybe hair salons or boutiques, and you just see that 247 they are playing music? Who has ever noticed that? Who has noticed it? That when you enter a hair salon or a boutique, they're always playing music there. Do you know why? Can anybody hear me, please? Am I audible?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
you're very
you.
audible.
Okay. Do you know why when you get to a hair salon or you get to a boutique, they're always playing music? Or maybe a social mall, like you go into Prince Ebano, they're just hitting you jam, boom, 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 patum, patum. They're just hitting you jam, 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 jam. Loud bass music, and it's just. Do you know why they do that? And it's fast, happy music. Do you know why? Does anybody know why? Let me tell you, they are doing that because by doing that, they are pumping your dopamine level. They are getting you excited. And the more you're excited, you are seeing everything around there begins to excite you. You don't need the watch, but now you have seen it and the music is playing, boom, boom, fast, happy music. You are excited, you pick the watch. You are excited, you pick that jacket. You are excited, you pick the trouser. You are excited. Before you know, you went to buy one shoe for your child's graduation. That's why you went there. But before you know it, guess what? You must have bought something worth 300,000 or 400,000 naira for only yourself, and even forget. Have you ever gone to market to buy something and you forget the reason why you went there? You bought entirely something different, went home, and then you're like, but this is what I really needed, and then you have to go back. Has it ever happened to anybody here? It's simply because somebody tampered your psychology. Somebody tampered your psychology.
Yeah.
You entered the supermarket and they were playing music, you got carried away, but you didn't know. It just felt all natural. It felt all seamless, you know. People with glowing skin advertising these products. Guess what? They know that they cannot, men are not keen about their skin, right? Have you noticed that when you want to advertise skin, beauty products, good food, holiday in Dubai, you know, going to Bahamas in a beach, have you noticed that they will use ladies? They'll use fair skin ladies, beautiful ladies, or lovers. Have you noticed that? Why are they doing that? It creates dopamine. It excites you. The girl's fair skin, the way she was smiling, the way she flaunted her hair, she flipped her hair and removed her eyeglass. All of those things are psychological things. They are inciting dopamine, increasing dopamine levels. And then before you know it, you click on the link and register, then you will buy it. The money is going to enter the manager's account. And it just became broke. But they don't use men for that because men's face are strong. But when they now want to advertise paracetamol, body relief, pain problem, back pain and the headache, they will now put mechanic there. They will now put the men there. That is because women think emotionally. Women think, you know, women live in fairy tale land. But men are the ones that go out there and face real problems. Men are the ones that have to deal with headache. So that's why they advertise paracetamol to you. Bobo Nishe. It's all playing with your psychology, right? And then they are getting you to send in the money. Let me ask you one question, right? What's the need of studying psychology when you don't know how it's going to impact your business? Instead of this what's it called now? Instead of sharing the screens, right? I would rather want to see the faces of the people I'm interacting with. This is a psychology class. I rather want to see the people I'm interacting with because I'm just feeling like I'm just delivering, like I'm just talking. Is it possible? Please just a minute, let me get my power bank. Sorry, my battery is low.
Please feel free to put on your cameras. All right, feel free to put on your cameras. I mean, today's class is definitely different because of the topic we are handling, right? Or we have at hand today. So please feel free to put on your cameras. And there are so much excitement and what's it called now? So much reasons to laugh and smile while this class is ongoing. I've been having a good bout of laughter here. So please would love to see your faces, reactions, and
yes, please. It's a class. It's a psychology class, and we need to interact.
Cameras.
Very important. He said it's still finished. I was not even reading the messages. It's not still finished, oh. It's the truth. Because men are result oriented, right? Men like to solve problems. Okay, they like to man up. They like to be in charge. Okay, so by the time you have solved a lot of problems from morning till night, advertisers know that the only problem you have now is body pain. That's why they advertise body pain to you. They advertise painkillers. And then they know that if they want you to go on holiday, they cannot advertise it to you because you don't see the value in it. So they are going to show your wife, you know, pictures of Dubai and a husband and a wife kissing on the beach and the sun is just setting, you know, a wife is just going to say, honey, let's go to Dubai, honey, let's go to Dubai, honey, let's go to Dubai. And then you bring out your ATM card and swipe, right? But you know that on a normal day, if they just show it to you, you're not going anywhere because more money needs to be made. Right? So all of that is psychology. And as a business person, that's how to think, right? That's the way to think about your business. How do people think? How do men think? How do women think? How do I, okay, I know people that do business here. This is a social science class. So I believe that there are people that do business here. Is there anybody that does business? Because just as I said from the beginning, if we are not able to apply this to our businesses, to our lives, then it's a waste of time. Mercy Isong, I've not heard from you today. Bright Ekato, Covenant, Geoffrey, can we hear from you? Jarius Donatus, say something. Okay, Covenant says that he's a business owner. Okay, what do you do? Can you unmute your mic and tell us what do you do? What do you sell? Or what services do you? Unmute your mic now, unmute your mic, let's talk. So what business do you do? Mercy Song, what business do you do?
All right, so I have a smoothie business. Smoothie and fruit juices, yes.
Okay, let's use Mercy now, for instance. Mercy, who are the people that patronize you? Is it male or female? Who patronizes you the most?
The most are females, yes.
Female patronize you, right? Now,
males do, but it's the females that do most.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now, as a smart business person, how do you apply this psychology that we are learning here today to your business? Let me tell you, for instance, you have seen that it is the women that come more. So what do? You now look for a way, think around it. What do I tell these women? What do I do to these women to make them bring their men? Because guess what? It is the men that have the money to actually spend.
Yeah.
Okay? The women want to spend the money, the men have the money to be spent. So the question you should be asking yourself is, okay, today, this lady came today to come and buy from me. Tomorrow, how can I bring my husband? How can I make her come with her husband? Okay? How can I make her come with her elder brother? That fine 16-year-old girl that came and bought smoothie with her friends. Have you ever been to Chicken Republic before? And then you see maybe a set of 2, 3, 16-year-olds. They come into Chicken Republic. All they can actually buy is just the ice cream, the one in the cone, no? The one with that edible cone. And they just come in and they just buy it. And then, but they sit down and take like 2 hours to snap pictures. They will now snap pictures everywhere, post it everywhere. And you think that they came to eat. No, they just came to snap pictures. As a smart business person, you can just look at that and laugh. But as a smart business person, you now ask yourself, okay, how do I maximize this kind of people? Because there are the people that want it and the people that can afford it. There are two different kinds of people. Okay, so how can I make the people that want it bring the people that have the money for it? Because fortunately for you, the people that want it have the heart, they control, or should I call it the mumu button of the people that have the money. You see it now. The daughters that want ice cream, the little girls that want smoothie, have the mumu button of the daddies. Okay, their daddies at home that want to buy for them. So as a smart business person, okay, this is my Zobo I'm selling. How can I influence, the small girls that come and say, Auntie, give me one Zobo, give me one ice cream, give me one smoothie. How do I influence them to say, come with your daddy tomorrow and I'll give you free chocolates? Because by them coming with their daddy tomorrow, you can now encourage them to say, hey, baby, take this, take this, take this, take that, take more, because daddy can now pay. If daddy is sending only baby, daddy is probably going to give money to baby to buy only one Zobo or one smoothie. Do you understand? But if daddy comes with baby, then baby can now select so much more. And that's the power of understanding psychology. So your business model can be like, okay, come with your daddy tomorrow, get 2 chocolates. Or you can do something like parents, children, fun fair. And parents that come with their children will get a gift. It will look as if you are doing them a favor, but at the end of the day, you are actually now doing yourself a favor. I'm really hoping that this class is impactful, and after this class, you are able to scale in your business, even in your thinking, in your family, that you become better. Because the reason why people even quarrel, even in their families, husband and wife fighting, is because they don't understand their own psychology, and they don't understand the psychology of their partners. So for instance, I learned of a story of a couple that just got married, and the woman was, there were some things that the man was doing that was making the woman angry, but the man was a pastor. Guess what? He looked at the woman and thought that the woman was in prayer mode. So every time he saw her frown her face, he thought that she was praying, she was in prayer mode. And then he now said, the pastor, and this girl wants to come and overpower me with prayer. So guess what? Every time he sees her strong her face and he's just carrying her face, he just concludes that she's praying. Guess what? He too will go and enter his prayer room and start praying. You start kabashing, because he thinks that the wife is in competition with him. And then the wife on the other, sorry, a call came in. Then the wife on the other hand is like, what kind of hardened man is this? How can your wife be angry with you and you are constantly just praying and having fun? Which God are you speaking with if your wife is not happy with you? You see psychological problems there. One person is thinking that oh, this my wife wants to overpower me with prayer. And then the other person is thinking, what kind of man have I? What I've gotten myself into trouble. God, this man does not even. Do you understand? And this discovery was made years later when they decided to talk about it.
Let's give her.
Okay, now let's move to methods of studying human
Came
psychology.
in again, and
okay, number one
interrupting her connection
is by observation. We study by observation, natural or controlled. So, like the example I just gave to Messi right now, a natural means is your clients that are coming into your business environment, you ask them questions. What do you like? What do you want? And then from there, you're able to come up with processes that excite them but bring profits to you. Like for instance, baby girl, come with your daddy. You understand them, you ask them questions. What do they like? They like chocolate. Okay, the girls coming to you, they like chocolate, they like a banana smoothie. And then you now tell them, oh, okay, come with your daddy and get banana smoothie. By doing that, you have more sales by observing, right? Another one is controlled. So have you noticed that there are a lot of these survey sites that you take surveys, you answer some questions, you just share your opinion and you get paid? How many people have seen those kind of things online? Or maybe you even, some of us can even, that's how you earn money here and there. You have seen it, right? Now, have you ever thought about it? Why should somebody say I should come and answer questions and pay me money? Have you ever thought about it? Like, who is paying me this money? Why are they paying me money for telling them my mind? We don't think about it, right? We don't think. We just want the money. We just collect the money. But you don't think, why is this person sitting down somewhere and asking me questions and is paying me money for answering them? He's trying to understand societal psychology. It's social psychology. They are observing, they are asking questions. That is controlled observation, right? Because by asking you those questions, they're able to come up with answers. They're trying to understand, okay, people in Nigeria, what is their take on divorce? So you take some of those survey questions, they ask you questions around marriage and divorce, and you answer it, and they pay you money, and you think that money is for free. No. That person asking you that question is going to get 10 times back that money by making smart decisions based on the information you have given them. Okay? So instead of doing a lot of guesswork here and there, you have already answered the question for them. So they're just going to go ahead and implement based on the questions that you have answered. Okay? And that's why in school, when we're about graduating, they ask us to go do research. They are helping you think. They are teaching you how to think constructively. As a business person, you must be able to make decisions constructively. You don't just assume, you come up with numbers, facts, proof. You want to start up a fish business and you just stand up and go and set it up somewhere. No, you study, okay, this particular kind of fish I want to start. Who are the people in Nigeria that eat it? What's their location? What is their likes? What is their dislikes? What are their beliefs? Then you go there, you study the market. You can even do research. Ask people questions. What are you doing? You are observing. The next one is by case study. You know, in our project, when we wrote projects, we will say, somebody give me a project title. The study of human psychology as against quality of education, as against quality of education. We'll now say a case study of Ondo South local government. Then what do? You now go to Ondo South local government and you give them souvenir questions, a lot of souvenir questions. They answer it, they bring it back. Based on that, based on those results, you are able to now do an in-depth analysis to now come up with the answer. To now say, okay, this and this and this and this and this are the reasons how human psychology affects quality of education in a place. Okay, the next one is survey. We already talked about survey, data from many individuals. So that's what people who do surveys online, they are business people. Some of them are scientists. They are trying to understand something. And all of that. I don't want to go into some details, but do you know that there are people who currently believe that the world population should be reduced? Do you know that? And they believe that Africans are the least productive. So Africans should be killed. Africans should die. Do you know that? There's that research currently going on.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all psychology. They are thinking about it, that the world is too populated. They should reduce the number of people in the world, and that Africans are the people who are less productive, who are less impactful to society. So they should kill 1/3 of us or kill 2/3 of us and then leave 1/3. And that's why you have, hope you know, malaria, for instance, is a lab-created sickness. Do you know? It was created. It was created to wipe out the blacks. But unfortunately, they used white people to test the sickness. And that's why you see this malaria that we carry in our body, and we can carry it for 3 months. Like me now, I know I have malaria, and I know I've had it for like how many months now. And we can carry it, just going up and down with it. Do you know that it cannot spend 3 days in a white man's body to kill him? This same malaria. So they tested it and saw that it could kill, but what they did not know is that it could not kill the black man. Disease no, they kill African man, no, not true, no be lie. Right? And then you have, like, yes, like COVID, you are correct. Like COVID too. It's lab created to wipe out the blacks. Unfortunately, Ebola lab created to wipe out the black. Unfortunately, the black man does not die like that. It's easier to kill a rat than to kill a black man. So it came and it backfired on them. What am I saying? People are thinking and they are sending you surveys and you are answering them. They are paying you $10, $15. You think it's a lot of money. You don't know they are gathering information of how to wipe you out. You don't know. I'm challenging somebody here. You know that Bill Gates always comes to Nigeria. He's always in Nigeria. He's gathering information on how to wipe you out. And you think he's doing, they say he's doing malaria, something. No. He's part of people that believe that you should be killed, that you should not be alive. What am I saying? I'm challenging somebody to get angry and say, me too. I will become so impactful that I will be able to resist these things. I'll be able to send it back to them. But unfortunately, instead of being proactive, most Africans are reactive. We like to react. We just want to survive. We want to survive. So make I just go online, go do that survey. Maybe they just pay my $15. I beg, I don't get time. You know, I need to send money to Male. I need to pay my brother's school fees. And we're just living that shallow life. Other people are thinking about big things, how to control the world, control world population, control, water circulation, control the ecosystem. People are thinking about all of this, how to control your life, how to make you a zombie through social media, using psychology. And you are there just thinking about you are just there thinking about how to earn $15 per day and you are made. I'm challenging somebody here to get angry. Begin to ask God for wisdom. God, how can I overthrow this wickedness against the black race? How can I become an impactful person? And that's why that's what your hunger for psychology should be creating. It's not just about making sales in your business, but it's also about making impact in your world. Sorry for diverting. Let me continue. Experiment, controlled testing, right? So, for instance, want to find out why black women are stronger than white women. Okay, so we get a set of 50 black women, 50 white women, and then we take them through some processes, ask them some questions, take blood samples, do this and do that, do experiments, and then come out with results as to the differences in their genetics, their DNA, why they are strong here, why they are not strong there, and all of that. For instance, it has been determined that black women are low on iron, and that's why you have a lot of fibroid cases, right? Then the last one is interview, direct questioning. Now let's look at this interplay between psychology and other social sciences. I guess that's what I've been doing since sociology, social groups, roles, norms. I've said that economics, decision-making, consumer behavior, anthropology, culture and behavior, political science, persuasion and leadership. I think that's what I've been talking about since. I'm talking about the interplay as to, how that with psychology, you can become a better salesperson. You can help people make decisions, understand consumer behavior, and even make people buy from you. That has to do with psychology and economics. Then political science, as somebody that understands, people. For instance, in Africa, we know that the people are just hungry and want to eat. And that's why it's very important to your politicians that you remain poor. Hope you know that your politicians, it is important to them the next 4 years as to whether Tinubu is going to win the next election is determined by how poor you are. Because the poorer you are, the more desperate you will be. And the more desperate you will be, the more quick you will be to sell your vote for one bag of rice, right? So when the elections come, they are going to go to the villages, they're going to go to the north, and then they are going to tell the people in the north, you know, all of the plenty masses on the street that, look, we are giving you 1 bag of rice, 1 bag of oil, we're giving you oil, 1 liter of oil, sell your votes, or you vote Buhari, or you vote Tinubu, or you vote Goodluck Jonathan. And then people are going to come out and vote. They're not going to think that this 1 bag of rice is what I'm selling my next 4 years for, is what I'm selling the destiny of my children for the next 4 years for, is what I'm selling the whole country for peanuts. Why? They go tell you, say, na hungry man, na man where they alive, na ain't go feel vote, na ain't go feel get good governance, right? So politicians ensure that you are hungry so that you can vote for them the next tenure. Okay, so you need psychology to be able to persuade people, to be able to lead people, which is why I told you that one of the reasons why you do one-on-one with your manager in the office is because your manager is having an opportunity to understand you so that he can lead you better. Okay, also anthropology, culture and behavior. By understanding people's background, understanding their culture, their behavior, why they do the things they do, you're also able to persuade them and help them make decisions, or make them make decisions to your favor, right? Now let's talk about motives for behavior. Let's try to understand why people do what they do, right? And then if we understand why people do what they do, then we can now understand how to influence them. So let's look at the motives for behavior. Motives for behavior are forces that initiate, direct, and motives of behavior are forces, motives of behavior are forces that initiate, direct, and sustain behavior, right? So what that means is, why I'm doing what I'm doing is the force that helps me initiate what I'm doing, direct what I'm doing, sustains what I'm doing to create the result of what I'm doing. Okay, so let's look at types of motives. We have drives, or you can call them drivers. Hunger is a very strong driver. Tests. Have you heard of people trying to cross the Sahara Desert? They are going from maybe Kano. They are going from Kano to Libya. And they become so thirsty, they begin to drink the urine of one another. Hunger, thirst, they are very strong drivers. They can make you do the undoable, think the unthinkable, right? So needs, what are those needs? Safety, belonging, if to understand this more, you go and study Maslow's theory, right? Where you understand priority and all of that. Next is instincts, natural behavior patterns. There are people that sit down a certain way. It's just natural. Maybe that's the way that their children used to sit down. I remember a particular situation of a friend of mine that gave birth to a child, and the child was stillborn. Guess what? There's a particular way the girl used to lie down in the university, right? She would lie down facing up, and then her legs crossed, and then her hands on her like this, like she's thinking. Guess what? That was how the baby came out dead. So it's genetics, it's in the blood, right? So you see that some people, their parents behave like that. That's how the children behave. That's how it's just in the blood. It's just instinct, natural instinct. Then you have incentives. People do things for reward, for goals. Now, there are two types of drivers, right? Number one, you have intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Now, let me tell you, extrinsic motivators are faster in delivering your results, right? But intrinsic motivators are more powerful. Let me give you an instance. If you tell 10 people here to gather, okay, and that you're going to give them 5,000 naira, right? It is faster in that those 10 people will definitely gather. Let me just gather, they'll reward me. It's external. That motivation is external. They'll give me 5K. It's faster. But let me tell you, if I study your psychology, I know your pain points. I know the things that made you very angry as a child, the things that made you feel powerless as a child. And I understand it. I understand how to get you upset, how to get to you emotionally. Guess what? I have control of your life. I can practically decide and control your life day to day. It might take a slower approach, but it is far more powerful. So as a business person, as a family person, understanding what drives people internally is more powerful than understanding what drives people externally. So you can know that somebody likes money and then you always go and give them money to get them to do what they do. But if you can find out the things that will make them do that same thing internally without money, you have their soul. You can control their life, and that's more powerful. Because one day those people can have money and they will no longer need your money again. But as long as you know what controls them from inside, you have what we call mumu button. You have their mumu button. You would always be able to control their lives. Now let's move to a class group discussion. Identify a behavior in your life and its motive. So this is time to talk. Let's talk about something in your life that you do on a daily basis and why you do it. So let me tell you something I do in my life. When I wake up in the morning, I spend a lot of time with myself and I spend time praying, right? And then when I do that, I sleep back. By the time I wake up with so much focus, so much energy to go through my day. Because I know that during the day, my day is going to be so busy and I'm not even going to have time to refuel, right? But that time in the morning when I wake up and I spend a lot of time with myself, just a lot of quiet time with myself, and then I have opportunity to sleep and wake up back. I wake up, it's like I filled my tank. And then my fuel level is so high, I can go through the whole day. Then, now that's a positive one. Now, you know, as human beings, we like talk about only the positive things in our lives. We don't talk about the negative ones, right? Me, I'll tell you about the negative one. I have one negative one. Two things. Growing up as a child, I experienced a lot of lack. So I noticed that I have this tendency, which I'm now trying to break. Don't yab me. Don't judge me. We listen, we don't judge. I have this tendency of when I have something good, right? Even food or clothes or in short, it's with most people, most Africans have this particular tendency of hoarding things, right? I noticed that I'm not able to use it. I want to keep it. And then sometimes it will now get spoiled or even lose its value. Does it happen to anybody? Why does that happen to you? It happens to you because maybe when you were growing up, you faced a lot of lack in your family, right? Or your mother used to do it. Do you know those mothers that maybe they'll buy meat pie and put it inside the fridge? You'll be begging them, mommy, let's eat it. Mommy, let's eat it. Day one, mbano. Day two, mbano. Day three. Until it now gets spoiled. They will not be looking for who to share it for. It's hoarding mentality. Am I alone on this? Is it only me that this thing happens to? So you're going to unmute your mic. Yes, migrants searching for greener pasture. Yes. Okay. So please, I want us to unmute our mics and talk about it. I've talked about my own, right? Talk about something you do and the reason you do it. One positive thing and one negative thing. Let me look for somebody that's Yes, fear of tomorrow. Yes, that's so true. Okay, I've not heard from Shaib Famuyiwa. Let me hear from Shaib Famuyiwa. Ah, he left the call. Why now? That's a psychological defect. We are going to catch you. Okay. Yes. Who is Ojo Christian Nwa Ofe? Let's hear from you. I've not heard from you. Tell me one positive thing you do and why you do it, and then one negative thing you do and why you do it.
Christian,
Is
please
he on the
unmute your
call?
mic and speak. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, good morning. All. Yeah, good morning. All.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Go ahead.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
just like you rightly said, sometimes based on your upbringing, how you were raised affects one. Like personally, I learned two things. I've gone through a tough times growing up. So sometimes I like hoarding, but
Yeah.
I also realize that by hoarding, you are just harming yourself.
Yeah.
So I just learn to give because you were once there, so you understand how it is. So I just realized that it's by giving that you will get. So I just have to change that mentality of holding to giving. Thank you.
And see, you have to understand something. Something you really need to understand about this is that if you don't look at these things, these group discussions are so important, because if you don't question these patterns, you will not be able to break free from them, and you will pass it to your children. So let me tell you something. For instance, this poverty mentality of hoarding, right? If you don't break from it, you will pass it to your children. You will pass poverty mentality, that scarcity mentality of, if I give this one, I will not have another one. And as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Because you believe that if you don't give this one out, you will not get another one. It will actually happen like that. But if you believe that if I give this one out, I will have another one, it will still happen like that. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you don't break out from these patterns, your children will watch you behave like that. Hope your children don't do what you say, they do what you do. Hope you know. And most of the times you will not know now, right? You can be shouting on them and they'll be doing what you say now. When they become adults and begin to live alone, they will do what you do, because picture is what sticks in the memory, and memory is the greatest instructor and discipler. Hoarding fine clothes, yes. Hope you know. Please, this thing I just said, now let it stick to you. Pictures is what fuels your memories. And memory is the greatest instructor, director, and governor of one's life. So for now, you can be shouting on your children, no? Shout on them, no problem. Tell them, hey, do like this, sit down here, stand up, run, jump. And they will do it because you are their primary provider, and they are afraid that you will beat them and all of that. But guess what? In the next 10 years, when that boy is in the university, you can't come and beat him there again. What will begin to govern his life is instructions from his memory. And his memory will be filled with the things that he saw his mommy and his daddy doing. He will now begin to behave like that. So, what do you want your children to remember you for? Because you are their greatest mentor. Their memories are filled with childhood memories of the things that they did with you. When they grow up, that's what they will do with their children. That's what their children will do with their children. That's the generational pattern that you are dropping along. So yes, let's go ahead. Who is the next person talking? Elizabeth Obu, I've not heard from you. Yes, it becomes a circle, exactly. Elizabeth Obu.
Elizabeth, are you there? If you're there, please unmute your mic and let's hear you share your thoughts or your experience.
Yes. So give us something, a behavior in your life that you do daily. Why do you do it? One positive and one negative.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Can't tell.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I can't tell. I don't know.
You don't know all the things you do in your life. You don't know anyone.
No. No, ma.
This is a serious matter.
Yes, so.
You mean you can't tell anything in your life that you do on a daily basis? Do you eat on a daily basis?
The normal thing for everybody now.
So why do you eat?
Because I'm hungry.
And that's so, talk about it now. That's what I said. I said, talk about one thing you do on a daily basis and why do you do it? Then talk about, one positive and one negative thing. Okay, let me ask you, Elizabeth. Is there something in your life that you do that you wish that you don't do it?
Ma?
Is there something in your life that you do? Maybe you like to drink Coke. Or is there something in your life you do that you wish that I really wish I don't do this thing? Are you there, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Yes. So tell us one thing in your life that you do that you're like, no, I wish I don't want to be like this. Or I don't want my children to be like this.
Well, I can say just eating late in the night.
Now that's what I'm asking you. Okay, so tell me, why do you eat late in the night?
Sometimes because of work. So before I do everything finish, it's already late. Before I can go and make something for myself. Before finishing it is already late in the night.
Yeah, so that's what we are asking. So the motive behind that eating late in the night behavior is hunger. And we mentioned it. Please, can you just take it up to the slide before this one? We mentioned it, that's, the greatest drivers. You see, hunger, they drive person go bad place where you know. Hunger, hunger.
Yeah.
So one thing that you do that you don't like and you wish that you stop doing it is eating late. And the reason you eat late is because you are hungry. And, because of work, you close from work late. Because if you don't find out the why, you're not able to defeat it. So now, let me ask you, Elizabeth, how do you think you can conquer this behavior of eating late? What are the things you can put in place to ensure you eat early, although you are working?
The only thing I know, I just work with time. Know that before this time, whatever I'm doing, I have to eat before I will go to bed. Like before this so time, I must take my dinner, no matter what I am doing in that particular task, to avoid it.
Elizabeth, let me say this to you, that you see this busy, you are complaining.
Yeah.
Life will not become easy at any point. There will be no point where you have more time to play around with. So you will either decide to learn how to manage your time or you keep struggling. And let me tell you, people expend their lives, their health for wealth. Then when they now get wealth, they now start trying to use that wealth to get their health back. Guess what? You can use your health to get wealth too. But you see that wealth, you cannot use it to get your health back.
Okay.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you can say, oh, I'm trying to make ends meet, I'm trying to make money. And you use your health to get wealth. But you see that wealth, by the time you don't get and finish, you cannot use that wealth to now get back your health. That's the mistake we make. So let me tell you what I do as a person. I have alarm for everything. See, if you are with me, you will see my phone will be ringing from morning till night. Because it does not get easier. So for instance, this is the first time I'm taking this class. If I have to, if something I have to keep doing, I have to get the time schedule and put alarm. And I'm not going to put alarm for when I'm going to come and teach the class. I'll put alarm for when I'm going to prepare for the class. Put alarm for where I should be seated. If not, I will not be able to do it. Because there are 1,001 things that are dragging me here and there. Did I talk you? I put alarm to call my friends and family. People I care about. Because I just realized one day that, I think that was in 2022 or 2023, that I had gone a whole week, I'd be 2 weeks, without talking to my family members. I said no. So I have alarm to talk to my mother. I have alarm to talk to my father. I have alarm to talk to people that I care about. Once that alarm rings, I pick my phone and call them. Maybe if I'm in a meeting, like now, my brother just called me. If I'm in a meeting, I'm not able to call the respond to that person at that time or call the person then. I will not stop the alarm. I will put the alarm on snooze. So that alarm will keep disturbing me till I do that thing. So Elizabeth, put an alarm on when you want to eat. Okay, if it's 6 p.m., by that 6 p.m., stand up and go and eat. That's how you defeat patterns. You create structures that defeat it.
Thank you.
For instance, you are struggling with masturbation. It's a psychological thing. You are struggling with masturbation. What is it called? Research has shown that masturbation is triggered. One of the great triggers of masturbation, for instance, is stress. People are looking for a way to relieve themselves of stress, right? So what do? You study your body. What are the times that I usually feel like doing this thing? When I'm alone, when the room is dark, when I feel tired, I just come back from work, right? So you now put things in place to ensure that you don't fall prey to it. Okay? So if maybe the time that you usually fall prey to masturbation, you've noticed it when I come back from work around 6:30, and I just, before I eat, if care is not taken, I masturbate around that time. What do? I will put alarm by 6:20. Play a Christian song, play a prayer audio, play a message from one man of God that I respect. If you are a Muslim, you do the same thing. Guess what? You have reprogrammed yourself 10 minutes before that time. Your mind is rebooting. Your mind is already, because you see, I have to understand that all of these things deals with chemical reactions. So around that time, your mind your brain begins to produce chemicals that send signals, to your body that it's time. It's time to masturbate. It's time to masturbate. It's time to masturbate. It begins to put pressure on you till you do it, right? And people that I have counseled around masturbation, they know, they begin to feel the signs when it's coming, when that pressure is coming. They begin to feel the signs. And I say you can defeat those signs. Immediately you begin to feel those signs, even if you don't know the exact time. Immediately you begin to feel those signs. Begin to do things that disrupt that sign. Go outside, begin to jog. Take fresh air. Play a message. Play a prayer. If you are a Muslim, go on YouTube. Play something that distracts you, that take your mind. Guess what? As you continue that pattern, your mind, that same brain that is to produce those chemicals that put pressure on your body to do that thing, to cause you pleasure and to bring you relief, that dopamine, that same mind, that same brain will begin to be reprogrammed. It's a gradual process, but it will begin to reprogram itself to do something else. Okay?
Okay.
And then before you know it, instead of thinking about masturbation, you are now thinking about prayer. You are now thinking, how did I become a prayerful person? You reprogram yourself like that. Because there's no void. In creation, there's no void. So if you want to take out one behavior, you have to replace it with another behavior. You have to introduce your mind to another behavior that can bring it pleasure. Because those behaviors that you have are seeking for one thing, pleasure. Pleasure. So you have to now create another atmosphere for pleasure. If your pleasure, you like to lick ice cream, then go and lick ice cream. Elizabeth, I hope I've been able to help you.
Yes, ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's continue. Let's move on from the class work. So when are we supposed to take a break?
Okay, I was actually waiting for you to finish your explanation, and then I will call your attention to it. So we're supposed to take our break by 12, and this is 12:10. And we're supposed to come back by 12:30. So we can take our break now and come back by 12:40. So we can have a 30 minutes break and then resume by 12:40.
Okay, so we'll come back by 12:40 and then we'll begin with the
Am I
development.
audible enough?
Yes, you are. You are. Thank you. Okay, so we'll come back by 12:30.
I hope I was heard.
Yes. You said we should come back by 12:40.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, class. So we'll come back by 12:40 and then we begin with the development of behavior. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let's take our break and then we'll come back by 12:40. Please be on time so we can continue from where we stopped. This class has been very interesting, and I can't wait for us to continue from where we stopped. Thank you very much, Sanctified. So while we do that, we also wait for the trainer. I've just reached out to her and she's asked for a few more minutes to be able to rejoin the call. So please do bear with us while we have that.
All right, so let's move straight into cognitive development. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, the next slide, please. Hello, please. Am I audible?
You're audible. Can you see my screen? Can anyone hear me? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see your screen.
Okay. Sanctified, can you see my screen from your end, please?
I can see your screen.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen as well?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So cognitive development is growth in mental abilities such as thinking, reasoning, and problem solving, and the key theorist of cognitive development is Jean Piaget, right? And the first stage, as he outlines, is the sensory motor stage. The sensory motor stage is the age between 0 and 2. And then during this stage, infants learn about the world, that they are acclimatized to their world primarily through, their senses, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and motor actions like grasping, kicking, reaching, being in control of like their neck and all of that, being in control of their muscles, So that's why in this stage, you see that, what is it called now? Montessori schools, we focus on actions around this, trying to help them gain control of themselves and then understand their environment. And then the second stage is a pre-operational stage. And this is the second stage of development, typically occurring between 2 and 7, right? And during this stage, children begin to use words and images to represent their environment and develop language skills. Okay, so 2 to 7 is when children use words and images, and then they're now developing language skills. They are moving beyond relying solely on sensory. The first one is sensory motor, and that one has to do with senses, feeling, tasting, and all of that. But now we're moving beyond that to be able to interpret with language. They also start to engage in symbolic play, drawing, and develop basic reasoning abilities. Yeah, so let's just run so that we're able to do a lot, right? So the next stage is the concrete. Okay, you have taken it away. We are still in that. Okay, so the next stage is the concrete operational stage, right? And this happens between 7 to 11. During this stage, children develop logical thinking abilities, right? And this is the stage that you want to have your children do puzzles, have them participate in debates, so that, they are developing their logical thinking abilities, especially when it comes to concrete, tangible objects and events. Okay. This is when you now have the school begin to do things like my co-debaters, fellow panel of judges, and all of that. The school is having to get them to think, to be able to process logically. And then lastly, you have the formal operational stage. The formal operational stage. My battery. Okay, please help me with it. Okay, I didn't see it. Sorry, I need to plug in my. Okay, so the formal operational stage it happens typically between 11 or 12, and then it continues through adulthood. And it is characterized by the ability to think abstractly, reason hypothetically, and engage in deductive reasoning. Okay, so now this goes beyond the stage where they are able to think based on what they see and what they can tangibly handle, but they can now think abstractly. For instance, they can now begin to think things like, oh, if this is this, then this is this. This is when they now begin to realize that, oh, things like racial discrimination is a thing. They begin to see the thin line between the poor and the rich. Before then, they don't see it. You know, they begin to see, oh, women, men, this is the stage where you have to guard the heart of young people around you, because this is the first, where they're exposed to understanding their feelings and then being able to think hypothetically. This is the stage where they will usually have their first crush, where they will now fall in love with their uncle or their auntie in school and stuff like that. So these processes of these stages of development are very important, you know, and most of the problems that we have as adults today are formed in this age of 0 to 13 years, actually. 0 to 13, 0 to 15 are where the problems that people encounter in their adulthood are formed, right? So let's just move very fast. Okay, so now we'll be talking about personality development. Personality development is the development of organized patterns of behaviors and attitudes. Remember, I said to us that your children will do as you say from 0 to 15 or 0 to 18, depending on when they get to the university, right? Or when they are independent. The moment they get independent, they would naturally begin to do as you do. All the things you did before, they will now begin to do it. And if you are a wise parent, you would guard your children very jealously from 0 to 15 or 0 to when they leave home, because that's when they take their identity and their form. And that's when their organized patterns of behavior and attitudes are actually formed. And then influencing factors are genetics, right? Who you are as a parent is naturally passed down to who your children become. Then the environment that you expose them to. Let me tell you the truth. If you don't tell your children that they are poor, they don't know that they are poor. Children don't know the difference between poor and rich. And then by doing that, by telling your children that they are poor, you create a poor man's mindset in them. And they will actually become poor. Children are neither poor nor rich. They are neutral. That's why when you see these children that beg on the street, I'm so angry and I'm so furious. You know why? The parents don't know what they're doing to these children. They're putting a poverty mindset, a dependability mindset, telling the children that, look, you can't do life on your own, you need to beg. The mental harm and damage, I can't even begin to talk about it. Then you have social interactions. As you interact socially, with your environment, it affects you. So let me explain. Somebody that has stayed in, let's say, the north, let's say you've stayed in somewhere like Sokoto for 30 years of your life, you will notice that either Christian or Muslim or fair or black or whatever, there's a particular way that you will behave, right? There's a particular way that some of the things that you will do, you will not even be able to say, okay, this is why I do what I do. This is not why I do what I do. It's just part of the culture of the society that is around. Hello? Hello? Sorry, can we hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. So please, can we have the slides back up? Or let me just use my own slide, no problem. It's okay, you can leave it. Let me use my slide. Let's just keep it interactive. Just leave this slide, leave this, you can leave the slide. I'll just scroll to. Sorry, what page were we on? What page were we on, please? Okay, I found it. So social interactions, and that's why they say that, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. If you have 5 wise friends in your circle, you are the 6th wise person. If you have 5 foolish friends in your circle, you are the 6th foolish person, right? So social interactions go a very strong way in personality development. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's just move. So there are other theories around personal development, like, your identity, your ego, your super ego, and, Erickson's psychosocial stages and all of that, which is like similar to this Jean Pigot's own, but in a different category. You can study that during your free time to understand it. So let's just go to self-concept. Self-concept talks about the way individuals perceive themselves, which includes their self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, your self-image, how you see yourself, your ideal self, who you want to be. It is developed through experiences and feedback from others. Okay, so these Dick's tests that people do. Who knows Dick's test? This personality test. Have you ever found yourself struggling between choosing who you feel you are right now and who you want to be? Right? You see that it's a struggle of self-concept internal. There's an internal struggle of having to tick. For instance, if they say, do you see yourself as a patient or impatient person? You find yourself struggling to pick between patient and impatient because you're an impatient person, but there's also an ideal self. There's an image that you like to sell to yourself about yourself, which says that you're a patient person. So you're struggling to pick, So understanding the differences between your self-esteem, your self-image, and your ideal self will help you find balance and know the things that you actually are supposed to work on, right? And then, your self-esteem and your self-image and your ideal self are concepts that are developed based on feedback. Let me tell you what that means. If the feedback you are getting from your parents is that you're a stupid child, you're a dumb child, you're a failure, you're a very useless child, that is the way that you feel about yourself. That's the way that you will see yourself, right? And that is the aura that you will exude. Okay, and you would intentionally need to get an ideal self of all the things that you do not want to be and begin to walk towards it and begin to confess that this is how I feel about myself. This is how I see myself. This is how I interpret myself to the world, and all that. So let's just move to socialization and its agents. Socialization is the process by which individuals learn and adapt to societal norms and values. Okay, the process by which individuals learn and adapt to societal norms and values. So remember, one of the things we talked about, like if you're left-handed and your parents actually try to change you to right, it's a way of socialization for them. They're trying to adapt. They're trying to adapt to societal norms and values. They don't want their child to be the strange one, to be the black wolf and that kind of thing. So let's look at the agents of socialization and culture. The first agent of socialization is family. All that you learn in terms of socialization is learned from your parents, from observing your parents. Okay, so the family unit is the first unit of socialization. And if you do not get it right in the family unit, then you will struggle in every other unit. So if you come out from a family where, for instance, anger is a norm, you're going to struggle, have anger issues, and you're going to take the anger issues to school, to your peers. You're going to take it to life, basically, right? The next agent of socialization is school. Okay. Our first set of role models, if not our parents, are usually our teachers or your headmistress. You like the way she used to dress and come into school, the way she addresses you. You're learning societal standards from your schooling, okay? And then next, your peers, what you see your peers do. When children see their peers, their parents buy them, you know, an iPhone 16, they go home and they also want an iPhone 16 also from their own parents. You know, then media is such a strong tool and agent for socialization, you know, both traditional and social media. You know, what we see people do on social media, them have, the way we see them, the lifestyle that we see them have, we also want to have that kind of lifestyle. That is socialization. Then religion is a very, very powerful tool for socialization. Whatever you believe, whatever the holy prophet says in the Quran, that this is the good way, this is how you should be, that is the way, that is your ideal self. Basically, we get our ideal self from religion. You know, whatever we find that Jesus says, whatever we see that Paul writes out in his Pauline epistles, for us to be like this, to be like that, whatever your pastor teaches to you, whatever your imam teaches to you, either on Friday or on Sunday, that's the way that we want to interact, we want to be. That's the way we want to, that's the kind of confidence, the kind of persons that we want to be in society, you know. So let's move to the stages of development. The first stage of development is infancy, and this is the period of rapid and physical and emotional growth, attachment forming also. Okay, so at infancy, you have like really, really fast growth where the child is growing. You know, you come today, the child is on one level, you come tomorrow, and it's almost like your own child is almost getting as tall as you, right? So you have rapid physical and emotional growth. The child is learning, you know, how to process their emotions based on what they're seeing you do and all of that. Attachment forming, this is when the child is getting attached to things, attached to circumstances, attached to places. And this is when you also should be very, very careful, you know, in terms of what you're exposing your child to. So if you begin to expose your child to phone, social media, film, you know, they will now struggle with their academics because you are attaching them to the wrong things. They are forming the wrong basis. Wrong mindsets and strongholds are being formed in their minds. And so this is the right time for, you know, you to expose them to learning materials, exercises that help them exercise both their body, their brain, and all of that, you know. Then we have adolescence, identity exploration, peer influence, emotional fluctuation. This is where it's not just about physical development, it's not just about emotional growth, but people are taking shape and form as to how they perceive themselves, what they identify to be. And you know, all the seeds that are sown from infancy begin to find expression here. And in cultures where things are so loose, you begin to hear things like LGBTQ, I identify as a man, I identify as a woman, I identify as a cat, as a fish. A human being wakes up and say, I identify as a dog. You know, it's identity exploration. The child is beginning to want to explore based on the possibilities that they have found through these socialization agents, maybe on social media, what they've seen their family do, what they've seen their friends do in school, you know, and all of that. So they want to explore them based on peer influence, you know, and then they have a lot of emotional fluctuation because, you know, even their identity is fluctuating as they're trying to find who their ideal self is and who they really want to be. And then there's puberty, where you have biological changes, onset of sexual maturity. The children begin to identify with themselves sexually and all of that. So let's move to perception. What is perception? Perception is the process by which individuals interpret sensory information. Okay, so now let's do this. So I want you to look at that picture there on the that is being shared, right? I want you to see something. I want you to look at from the point of the person who has 3. 3. So that 3 is in their mind, right? Then how many sticks are on the floor? If you look at it from that point of the person who is seeing 3 already in their mind. Now look at the sticks on the floor. How many sticks do you see there? From the standpoint of that person. You see that you find 3 sticks there. Now, from the person who has 4 in their mind, you see that you have 4 sticks there. It is the same sticks, the same amount of sticks, but based on perception, they are seeing, one is seeing 3, the other one is seeing 4. Now, if you draw the number 6 on the floor, right, and I'm standing ahead of that number 6, okay, I'm going to be seeing 9. But if I'm standing below the number 6, I'm going to be seeing 6, right? It is one image, but different perception. How do we see things? We don't see things as they really are. We see things as we are. Let me explain to you. For people that grew up from like struggling backgrounds, they see life as warfare. Okay, so have you ever tried to do good to somebody and then the person legitimately thinks that you are trying to insult them or you're making mockery of them? Has it ever happened to you? Or has somebody tried to do good to you before and then you interpret it as they are trying to mock you, and then later you just see that, oh, it's just the way I was seeing wrongly? Am I the only one in this class?
No, we can hear you
No,
clearly.
I hear with you. We can hear you clearly.
And then there are responses in the chat room as well.
Okay. Okay, I'm just seeing that now. Thank you. Okay, so we see things based on our past experiences, and this is a very, very strong influence. The way that, people have projected us to see things, the way that people have made us believe about ourselves. So if, for instance, you come out from a struggling family, you will naturally see things, you will see life as warfare, right? Whilst if you came out from a family where they'll take you out to Dubai to go and have lunch, and then America to go and for dinner, and then for breakfast you go to Bahamas, life is not warfare for you, it's funfair. And so when you see people, you want to love them, you want to take pictures, you want to smile at them. But for somebody who came out from a struggling background, everything is warfare, everything is spiritual, and all of that. So our past experiences form the basis for which we see things, our expectations, right? Our cultural background. So for instance, if I need 2,000 naira to go and eat, like I'm very hungry right now, I just need 2,000 naira to go and eat, and you give me 10,000 naira, wow, it's like a lot. Like, I'm going to roll on the floor, thank you, and all of that. But if the list that my parents used to send to me as a girl in the university is like 100K, and then you send me 10K, it's like you're insulting me. So I will also see things and appreciate things based on my expectation. Okay, and that's why it's important for us to, no matter what, try to give our children the best life possible, because it will determine whether they would sell themselves short or whether they will make the most out of life. Okay, so for a child that is used to scarcity, once they have, for instance, a girl that is used to scarcity, once they have an opportunity or someone that gives them 2K, 10K to go and buy Indomie, buy them. That's why you see girls sell their destinies for shawarma, for fish. It's luxury to them. But the one whose parents have properly brought up and have given these things, they don't look at it as anything. So remember what we said, we don't see things in the reality of what they are. We see things the way that we perceive them based on who we are, right? So now let's do a class exercise. Which agent of socialization has most influenced your behavior? For me, it is past experiences. And that is why I am learning as a person to look back at my life, look back at the experiences of my life, and address the issues that have, created wrong mindsets, and deal with them so that I can become a better person for society. So let's just have one or two persons tell us something from their background that has affected or influenced their behavior. Okay, let's go. Whilst we move to understanding the principles of personality development. Anybody? Okay, let's just move. What is personality?
Lowell, are you there? Can you share with us? I would have to call names this time around. Damola, can you hear her?
No, I can't. I can't. I can only hear you. Yeah, I can hear her now.
All right, so let's just move. What is
Hello, Damola, can you hear her? I can't hear her from my end, or is it my network?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear her now. Can you hear her now?
We lost you. We lost you a few seconds ago.
Okay, all right. So let's just move to personality. Personality is the unique and consistent patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving that characterize an individual. All right, so a person's personality is a makeup of their thinking patterns, their feeling patterns, and their behavioral patterns that characterize who they are, right, as individuals. Personality is shaped by both genetic and environmental factors. Okay, now let's look at the key principles of personality development. The first, hello, somebody's speaking at the background.
Please go ahead. I've muted the person.
Okay. The first one is self-awareness. What is self-awareness? It is understanding it's basically like doing like a SWOT analysis on yourself, right? Understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your emotions and your values, right? Understanding who you are. What are the things that you struggle with? What are the things that you easily do? What are your weak points? What are your strength points? What circumstances or situations create certain emotions or allow for certain emotions? And then what are your values? What are your belief systems? Okay. Then also your regular self-reflection to identify areas of improvement, looking inward as we talked about in the beginning of the class. Then number 2, positive thinking and attitude, maintaining a growth mindset and an optimistic outlook on life. This is something that you must intentionally do, and then learning to handle criticism constructively. The third one is effective communication, developing good verbal and non-verbal communication skills, active listening and empathic responses. The fourth is emotional intelligence. Sorry, I have to rush because we have a lot and then it's just 30 minutes more. But I'm happy that from the beginning, we've already given an overview. So I'm sure that, please just confirm with me that this will be shared with the students to go through on their own.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay. Then we have emotional intelligence, which talks about managing your emotions effectively and understanding others' emotion. Remember, you cannot understand what you don't observe. Okay, so one of the crux of social psychology has to do with communication and emotions, actually. What are you communicating verbally and non-verbally? What are people communicating to you verbally and non-verbally? How much do you understand your emotions? How much do you understand the emotions of others? And how much are you able to utilize that, for your benefit? The fifth is confidence and self-esteem. Believing in yourself and your abilities, overcoming self-doubt through continuous learning and experience. Let me tell you the truth. If you see that you have self-esteem issues, look for a counselor, talk to a therapist, make sure that you're dealing with it. You're intentionally and continuously changing your learning and your experience, The next is adaptability and open-mindedness, being open to change and willing to learn new things. And this is actually what we use to measure your intelligence quotient, how much you are willing to change and adapt, and learn new things. And then accepting different perspectives and ideas. Discipline and consistency. Goal setting and motivation. You can just read that on your own. Social skills and networking, integrity and ethics, Most people think that integrity and ethics is going to put you on the losing side of life, but it's a very big lie. Actually, the world is looking for people of integrity, people that have strong ethics, to commit resources to commit wealth to commit treasures to. But most of the times we don't know. We think that if you don't swindle your way to the top, you won't grow. It's a lie. The world is looking for faithful people, because guess what? Unfaithful people are very common, but faithful people are not normal, are not common, are very, very uncommon. So when the world finds them, they commit great riches and treasures to their hands. Behaviorism. Behaviorism is a theory of learning which states all behaviors are acquired through conditioning. Okay, through conditioning. What is conditioning? Conditioning is simply the art or the science of programming people, either consciously or unconsciously, to behave in a certain way. Okay, remember that story of that movie I told you, that guy so conditioned this other guy to pick 7. He programmed him. He was showing him 7, 7, everything, 7, 7, 7, 7, until he went ahead and picked 7. That's what conditioning is. It is, and conditioning can either be conscious or an unconscious effort. I can consciously condition you or program you, and I can unconsciously program you and also condition you. So based on programming and conditioning, people take behavioral patterns, right? Behaviorism focuses on observable behavior rather than internal processes. Let's look at types of conditioning. There are 2 types of conditioning. There is classical conditioning and there is operant conditioning. What is classical conditioning? This happens when a naturally occurring stimulus is paired with a response. So for instance, when you put meat or bone in front of a dog, immediately it begins to respond by salivating. So the natural stimulus there is the food. It's an unconditioned stimulus, and then the unconditioned response is the salivation. Naturally, the dog will just begin to naturally the dog will just begin to salivate and all of that. Then what is operant conditioning? It's a method of learning what occurs via reward and punishment based on behavior, right? Like what I was trying to say to you the other time about the lady that has a smoothie business. And then I was saying that By learning the psychology of the children that come around you, you're able to get their parents to come over and then buy them more smoothies, buy them more zobos, you know. And that's now operant conditioning. This is the one that businessmen use, you know. For instance, there's a way a lady would dance, you know, that will seduce a guy. That is operational conditioning. Know the process of learning. Let's look at the process of learning. How do we learn? First of all, learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior due to experience or practice. Learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior due to experience or practice. Learning helps individuals adapt to their environment and acquire new skills and knowledge. Let's look at the types of learning. Basically, there are 4 theories of learning. There's classical conditioning, there's operant conditioning, there's cognitive learning, and then there's social learning, okay? Let's look at classical conditioning, learning through association, okay? And that's the one that we first of all used and said, the kind of learning that children take from their parents is called classical learning. It's not actually, it's not premeditated. The things that your children, remember what I said about your children, like, right? That your children will not do what you say, they will do what you do. And it's not premeditated. They're not trying to punish you. It's not something they do intentionally. Just naturally, by observing you, they are classically conditioned to behave like you because you are their first role model. Okay, so if a parent has anger issues, naturally, the child is going to have anger issues, right? The friends that they hang out around with, the children are going to take the shape and the form of the people around them. The next one is operant conditioning, learning through consequences, right? So, and this is the one that we use more as parents or teachers, but it's not as powerful as classical, because classical happens naturally. You don't have to do anything about it. It just happens, right? So if I want my child to be studious, you know, to be inquisitive, I just position myself as studious and inquisitive, and my child will just naturally learn it from me. Okay, but what we would like to do is learning through consequences and rewards. That means that, for instance, you tell a child, if you do this, I will do that. If you do that, I will do this. If you come last, I will punish you. You will not go for holiday. You will not do this. You will not do that. If you come first, I will take you for holiday in America. I will buy you bicycle. I will do that one. Okay, then the child goes to strive to ensure he carries first because he is learning by operant conditioning. The third type of learning is cognitive learning, which is learning through mental processes, right? Problem solving and insight. This is what is used to teach toddlers, basically, where I won't go over all of this. I've gone over all of this before, from the sensory motor to pre-operational, concrete operational, and then formal operational. I've done this before, so there's no need to go through all of this. But from 0 to 2, children learn more by through their senses, what they are seeing, what they are feeling. And that's why when you go to CRET, you have a lot of doing activities, trying to develop their cognitive abilities. The next is observational learning, learning by watching others. This is also a very powerful way of learning. Okay, just by watching what others do on social media, on traditional marketing, people pick it from there and then form habits. Now let's look at methods of learning. Repetition and practice. Repetition and practice is the bedrock of learning. It reinforces memory and skills. The next is feedback. Sorry. Feedback helps to improve performance. And then we have active engagement, okay, in discussions like what we're doing now, discussions, group work, hands-on tasks. I'm asking people, they are responding and all of that. Then use of multimedia, videos, visuals. This is also a very strong way of learning because it's, you know, as I said before, memories, one of the greatest storage platforms in your memory is through pictures, right? So when we use visuals and videos to teach people, then simulations, do as I do. Who remember Barney and Friends? When Barney will be singing a song, I love you, you love me, and then the children are hugging Barney, they are kissing, they are loving upon each other. It is learning by visualization and simulation. And you too, the child is in their room, they are doing the same thing, they are singing, they are dancing, they are loving, they are kissing. Barney is trying to instill the culture of love in those children, right? Then the last method of learning is reflection, you know, daily journaling, and then self-assessment. Okay, so let's do a quick exercise. Which learning method do you prefer and why? Can anybody speak about it? Which learning method do you prefer and why? Before we move to understanding emotions. Please, I just need to
speak.
yes, we need one person because we need to quickly look up.
Christian or Joe, can we fair and why? Please unmute and speak. Christian, are you there? Okay, who should we call on? Okay, Lowell, can we hear from you? Are you there, Lowell?
Yes. I think I will go with active engagement or anything that has to do with audio visual because whatever you see and practice, put it into practice, you hardly forget something like that.
Okay. And then, you know, these ways of learning also has to do a lot with our personality, right? So an extrovert will do very well with active engagement and use of visuals and all of that. But an introvert might do more with reflection, feedback, right? But anybody learns through repetition and practice. Okay, let's move to understanding human emotions. Emotion is a complex psychological state. So is somebody speaking?
Please go ahead.
Okay, emotion is a complex psychological state that involves a subjective experience, a psychological response, and a behavioral or expressive response. I'll take that again, then I'll break it down. Emotion is a complex psychological state that involves a subjective experience, a subjective experience, a psychological response, and a behavioral or expressive response. Let me explain that. An emotion is a psychological state, a mental state, a state of the mind that you get into based on a subjective experience. Let me give you an instance. Remember how I said that you can give 2,000 naira to somebody to stir up the emotion of happiness. You can give that same 2,000 naira to somebody and to stir up the emotion of sadness. Why? That experience is subjective to their physiological makeup and their behavioral pattern and their experiences. Let me explain. For somebody who maybe makes 1 million naira every day, and then on their birthday you give them a gift of 2,000 naira, they might feel like you are insulting them, especially if they feel like you have more, right? But somebody whose salary is 10,000 naira a month, and you now give the person, what is it called now? You give the person 2,000 naira, is a lot. Because if you divide 10,000 naira by 30 days, you know that it's a whole lot, right? That's like 300 naira also. Is it up to? Yes, 300 naira. So by giving the person 2,000 naira in one day, it's a whole lot. So that's what we mean by subjective experience and sociological response. So the experience, the response to the experience is subjected to, physiological reasons, meaning the things I've experienced before will govern the way that I will respond today, and a behavioral or expressive response. So that means that if I'm angry, there's a way I will behave that I will show my anger. If I'm sad, there's a way I will show my sadness. If I'm happy, some people, when they are angry, they laugh. Some people, when they are angry, they cry. Some people, when they are happy, they laugh, while others will now cry when they are happy, right? This now talks about behavioral or expressive response. Emotions influence how we react to the world around us. Let's look at the key components of emotions. The first is subjective experience, how we feel internally. The next is physiological response, our heart rate, hormones, and etc. Then the next is behavioral expression, our facial expressions, then our body language. Right? When some people are happy, their heart begins to beat fast. When they are anxious, some people is when they are angry, right? And then physically, some people will now slam the door. Some people will shout. Some people will cry. Some people will jump, expressing different emotions, rage, and all of that. Let's look at the basic emotions or universal emotions, which is happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. Okay, I don't need to start explaining this. Then some complex emotions: embarrassment, pride, shame, guilt, love. Emotions may vary by culture, experience, and personality. Remember what I said? What can be embarrassing to one can be a thing of pride to another. What is shameful and will cause guilt to one is something that another person is going to love and is going to love for, Okay, let's have one person give us a situation where they felt multiple emotions at once and share with us.
Okay, Schweib, are you there? Can we hear from you? Hello, Schweib. Okay, Richard, can you attempt? Let's hear from you. Think of a situation where you felt multiple emotions at once and share it with us. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm cracking my head around it.
Okay.
Okay. Let
Have
me
you come
ask,
up?
is
Have you
anybody
remembered
married here?
anyone?
Is anybody married here, or does anybody have a child here?
Okay. Can anybody respond to that?
Yes.
Okay, you have a child, right?
There are married. No, married.
Okay, you are married. How do you feel on the day you were getting married?
Oh, joyous and happy.
Okay, you were very happy, right?
I was happy and I was joyous. Yes.
Okay, but were there times when you were sad or you thought about something, you became agitated, you were worried? Maybe you now consider, hey, photographer's money is 200,000. Hey, the hall. Hey. So people were dancing, you were shaking your body inside the hall, but you were thinking about money.
Yes, Richard, are you there? We can't hear you.
Yeah, it corrupted the flow of the conversation.
Oh, okay. Okay. But did you get the question? Are you there? I think his network is glitching.
Okay, but basically, this question is just to show us that, you know, the human mind is
Sorry, I was yanked off by the network.
okay.
Okay, did you get her
Okay,
question?
go ahead.
No, I didn't. I didn't get the second question. What she was saying.
Okay.
The next.
Okay, don't worry. For lack of time, let's just continue. So I was just trying to show us that
Oh,
the
okay.
human emotions is very complex, such that it allows us to experience different things at the same time. Okay, when people say they have mixed emotions, one thing can happen to somebody and is making the person sad, and then in another way is making the person happy. The person, so you can at one spot you can be happy, you can be surprised, or you can be surprised and disgusted at the same time. The human mind has ability to feel different things at one time. Okay, let's look at the process of attitude formation and change. How do attitudes form and how do attitudes change? What is an attitude? A person's attitude refers to their feelings, it refers to their beliefs and their behavioral tendencies toward a particular object, person, or situation. Have you ever seen that there are 10 people in a room and one person is talking to the 9 people very calmly, politely, gently, and happily? But when it comes to that one person, they have a very terrible attitude. Do you understand? Like, I can be laughing with everybody in a room but to one person, I'm angry. Or somebody is happy and then they say, oh, your boss is calling you upstairs, and suddenly you become sad. The same instance, different emotions, different attitude, right? So attitude talks about your feelings, your beliefs, your behavior towards a particular person, object, or situation. There are people that certain circumstances, certain atmospheres, certain places, location, they have attitudes towards it based on what they have experienced before. Attitudes affect our perception, they affect our thoughts and our action. Okay, our attitude towards people based on what we believe about them will frame the way that we look at them and the way that we address them. Attitude formation, how our attitudes form. Attitude formation is the process through which people develop opinions, feelings, and beliefs about others or objects. Let's look at key factors of attitude formation. One is social learning, observing others' reaction and adapting to them, right? The second one is personal experience, direct interactions with people or situations. Number 3, people form attitude based on cultural influences, cultural norms and values, shaping opinions. And then 4th is by family and peer influence. Significant others influences your attitude. Now let's look at attitude formation. Learning and experience. Okay, direct experiences. Personal interactions or direct exposure to an event or object can strongly shape attitudes. Positive or negative encounters often lead to lasting impressions. Okay, so have you ever heard that the first impression matters? Do you know that if you come to a place that maybe was smelling goat shit today, tomorrow you come back to that place and that place there's no goat shit smell there, but because of what you have in your mind, you can come back to that place tomorrow and in your mind is smelling good shit? Do you know? Because you have formed an attitude towards it, right? Then the next one is social learning. Observing others, especially influential figures or peers, can lead to the development of attitudes. For example, children often model the attitudes of their parents or teachers. Very true. Nowadays, we go on social media, we see the way celebrities are behaving, how they are dressing, what they are doing, and then we also want to do that. Okay, every girl wants to look like Beyonce, right? Attitude formation by cognitive processes. Okay, beliefs and thoughts. Attitudes are influenced by the beliefs we hold about an object or issue. These beliefs can be based on knowledge, perceptions, and prior learnings. Then cognitive consistency. People often seek consistency between their attitudes and their beliefs. When new information aligns with existing belief, it reinforces the attitude. Okay, now this is what we call strongholds. Okay, so for instance, if I already believe that Lagos is dirty, right, I would just keep seeing things that will prove to me that is dirty. When I see things that prove to me that is clean, I will ignore it. But the ones that prove that is dirty, I'll keep adding it to my memory bank, and having strong and strong reasons until I have a strong hold on my mindset that Lagos is dirty. 3, affective influences, emotional experiences. Emotions play a significant role in shaping attitudes. A strong emotional reaction, whether joy, fear, or disgust, can form a lasting attitude. Okay, so for instance, there are people that don't want to go where maybe their spouse died. Okay, because that they have a particular attitude based on that place, based on their emotions that they have experienced there, right? They will say to you, people who become sexually active before marriage, they will say to you, now cut off from your ex. Immediately you get married, because you can see them, and based on the attitude, and then you have an attitude towards them emotionally that can make you do things with them that will cost you your marriage. Okay. Then this affective condition, I think we already talked about it when we're talking about selling your product, how that you can walk into a restaurant or a boutique and they're playing fast, happy music, and then it helps you to buy more things. Pairing a product with happy imagery in advertising can generate a positive attitude towards it. Mama do good, he do good, he give us Indomie. And then the children are clapping their hands, they are dancing around Mama, they are happy. It's creating a happy imagery to using the family setting, using Mama, which is a very, very emotional figure, to sell Indomie, And now every child loves Indomie. You don't really love Indomie because Indomie tastes good. You love Indomie because they used your mother to sell Indomie to you, and you love your mother. Love your mother, love Indomie. Do you understand what I just said? Now let's go to social and cultural factors. Let me look at the feedbacks. Okay, yeah, first impression matters a lot.
That's right.
Who that concept of Ojuju when we were growing up? And then people grow up and really they are still afraid of the dark because they told them that there's Ojuju in the night. Okay, that's affective conditioning. Now let's look at social and cultural factors that affect attitude formation. Cultural norms, cultural values and social norms provide a context that can shape attitudes. What is considered favorable and unfavorable in one culture might differ in another. Okay, so for instance, there are some cultures that the woman, she cannot cook without putting the head of the chicken inside the soup and ensuring that it's her husband that eats it. It's a taboo. And in some other cultures, giving somebody head of chicken is disrespectful. That's the part you give to the children after you have given the adults the lap. Some other cultures is the gizzard, you know. So your attitude, a man's attitude towards how the wife gave him head of chicken inside soup is forged based on his cultural, based on social and cultural factors. So if you are from a culture that if they give you head of chicken, it means they respect you. When your wife gives you that head of chicken, your attitude towards that is that you are happy, okay? But your attitude towards that can go very wrong if it is disrespectful in your culture. Then the next is socialization based on family. Hello, is somebody speaking?
Can proceed. Yeah, muted is mic.
Okay. Then we've talked about socialization already. The same way your socialization affects your personality can also affect your attitude, affect your emotions and all of that. So that's just what he's saying here. Now let's look at components of attitude. Components of attitude. We have cognitive components, what we think about an object, person, or situation. 2, we have affective components, the emotions or feelings we have towards something. 3, we have behavioral components, the way we act or behave in relation to our attitude. Sorry, I just have to rush this because it's already 2. So let's just move to this. This is important. Changing attitudes. Changing attitudes. Why attitudes change? By persuasion. Okay. So for instance, imagine a family where maybe the doctor has said that the man cannot give birth to children or cannot produce children, right? And all the man's life, he's always wanted children, but his attitude to that life situation can be influenced when somebody tells him that, oh, you might not have biological children, but you can adopt. And then based on persuasive power, the person can now begin to say, oh, even if I don't have biological children, I can adopt children and I can still live my life happy. So for instance, in the West, okay, and in European countries, the white people find it very easy to adopt children. They just decide that, oh, we don't want to even have any child, just want to adopt, right? But that's based on persuasion of how much their media and their society has influenced them. But for somebody here in Africa, it might be difficult to expose that person to believe that kind of information, because what we believe here is that, you must have your own children, and all of that. So attitudes can change based on based on persuasion. It can change based on cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that people feel when their attitudes conflict with their behaviors or what they stand for, what they believe, and then based on new information. For instance, if you take that man from Africa who does not believe that you can just adopt children and be happy, if you take him abroad and he stays there for 10 years, he has white friends, that the new information that he gathers there can change his mindset. Now let's look at methods of change. Now this is also very important as an entrepreneur, because understanding why people's attitudes can change can help you understand the power of branding and marketing, how to brand, how to package your product to who, okay? There are things that an Ijaw man believes are an abomination. When you want to go and sell your product to him, there's a way that you address him. There's a way you persuade him. Okay, there's a way you give him new information to make him want to change his mind to use your product. Now let's look at the methods of change through persuasive communication. That's why, as somebody who is an entrepreneur, your words must be very persuasive. You must have persuasive power. 3, social influence. That's why when brands want to sell, they use social media influencers. Okay, if Davido has it, I should have it. If Wizkid is doing it, then it's good. If Beyonce does it, then it must be the right thing to do. Now let's move to motivation. What is motivation? Motivation is the process that initiates, guides, and sustains goal-oriented behavior. It is the process that initiates, guides, and sustains goal-oriented behavior. Okay. And then we have intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. I think we've talked about this before. And I told you that when you want to get something fast, you want to get a fast result, then you can use intrinsic motivation. But if you want to get a powerful and life-changing result, then you use intrinsic motivation. There are things that money cannot buy. Those are the things that move people from the inside. Okay. Imagine as a Muslim man, Rashid. Imagine that somebody comes and insults Muhammad in your presence. What will you do? Sorry, Lawal. Mr. Lawal. Mr. Lawal, are you there? Is Mr. Lawal there?
Yes,
The
yes,
man
I'm
that
with
prayed
you.
for
I
us.
Well,
just
please,
get
please,
you.
Yes.
I'm here, I'm
So
here.
imagine that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, somebody comes and talks ill about him in your presence. Do you need money to fight that person? Do they need to pay you money before
No,
you
no,
fight the
no,
person?
no.
Yes. Why? Because it's an intrinsic motivation. Okay. It's something that is, you are motivated based on your personal belief, based on your, and it gives you personal satisfaction. You don't need money for it. Right? So that's why I said that when
Yeah.
they're able to power people based on intrinsic motivation, you have a stronger hold on them. But then again, it needs a lot of discipline and indoctrination to get people to that point where you're able to motivate them intrinsically. But extrinsically, it is very easy to motivate people. Money and all recognition, award, and all of that. But all of those things easily fade away. Because as I said earlier, once the person has money, the person no longer needs, you can no longer motivate the person intrinsically. And then there's a level of awards and recognition I will get. I no longer need that kind of motivation. And then your hold over me can actually be lost. Now please, all of these diagrams, you can study them during your free time. We'll just move to the theories of motivation now. Theories of motivation. Okay. The first is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay. Maslow's hierarchy of needs focus on fulfilling basic needs, e.g., food, safety, before reaching self-actualization. Okay, and then there are 5 levels. There's physiological, there is safety, there is love and belonging, there's esteem, and then there is self-actualization. Let me tell you what that means. A poor man, have you ever heard that a hungry man is an angry man? Eh? Person where they hungry, you can't motivate a hungry person where they hungry. You know, when they tell them, say, I want you to be great in life. Oga, give me a bar, make I chop. Do you understand?
Survivor first. Yeah, survivor first.
Do you understand? Survivor first.
Yes.
Give me food to eat first before you tell me that I'm a great destiny. I have a powerful star. Oga, give me a bar to eat first. Give me Gary, make I drink first before make I see Gary drink first before you go to tell me say make I go fight for Nigeria. Make I go fight for Tinubu. which is the reason why I said to us from the beginning that politicians understand this. That's why they are very, very key. They are keen on ensuring that a large majority of the population are in abject poverty. Because according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, physiological needs first must be met. Okay? Physiological needs talks about your basic survival, your basic needs as a person must be met first before you start talking about self-actualization. Okay, so what are those basic needs? Food, shelter, clothing first. Then the second stage in the hierarchy of needs is safety. When you don't chop finish, before you want to talk about safety, say, oh, I want to be safe, I want to be secure, I want to, once you have food, clothing, and shelter, so being a person who don't build house, go put security for there. Or when you don't have a house, do you put CCTV camera on the air? No. So first of all, food, shelter, and clothing. Then we can now talk about safety. Then after safety, we can now talk about love and belonging. Okay. While we're on break, I saw a short video of a man who was on the road, and then suddenly a very, very giant elephant appeared. The man came down from his car and ran away. Why? Safety before belonging. Safety before love. That's why you complain that women are materialistic. They're trying to feel safe. They want to know that you can provide food for them, basic shelter, basic clothing. Do you understand? You can provide them safety before love. And that's why we see that a lot of marriages are transactional these days, because physiological needs before safety, and then safety before love and belonging. Okay. And then next we have self-esteem. Let me ask you something. If they say, Brother Lawal, want you to wear only boxers and dance on your streets, we'll give you 100 million naira. Will you dance?
Yes. Brother Lawal said we do it.
Eh?
Brother Lawal said we do it.
You will do it, ba?
Because money is involved now.
Even 100K go, even 100K go run am.
Yes.
Even 100K if you run am. Do you understand? So now person we don't chop, you go to tell them about self-esteem. Do you understand? He's someone that is safe, that you come and start saying, do you know who I am? No. He's someone that, he has enough money in his account that can start dealing with big man problems. Have you noticed that it is big men that have, that go to see therapists? They're the ones that have, what's this thing called now? Emotional trauma. Emotional trauma na big man wahala. Do you understand? Now, when you don't chop belly full, before you come they think, say, if like say I get something my papa do me from childhood where I know, like, let me go and pay psychologists to talk to me so that I can deal with that problem. Do you understand? And then, of course, you have to deal with your esteem issues before you can self-actualize. Because before you can become that man and that woman of your dream, you definitely have to deal with your self-esteem issues. So all of these things are important, but they are on a level. They are on different levels, right? So what Maslow is now saying here is that understanding this hierarchy of needs, will tell you where people are at the moment and how to motivate them. So somebody that is earning 10K per month, that guy is hungry. Okay? When you want to motivate him, you motivate him physiologically. Okay? You can motivate him with safety. Okay, do this and I will pay your school fees. Do this and I'll pay your rent. Do this and I'll give you free food for 1 month. Do you understand? But someone that is earning maybe like 200 or 500K per month, you might not be able to motivate him with food. Okay, but you cannot be telling him that do this and I will make sure that you are secure, your house is secure. Do this, and that woman that you love, I will talk to her for you. Do this, and I will give you gold chain. I will do this, I will do that. Do you understand? Now, but for someone that is earning 10 to 20 million naira a month, you don't come to them with physiological needs or needs for safety or love or belonging. No, you come to them with esteem. You want to touch their ego, right? So you want to tell them, Odogu, when you do this, we'll give you an award. We'll give you 1 bottle of Moe. Hennessy, that's what we. So now it now talks about it. Now you're not speaking to their esteem, right? And that's why you will notice that in 5-star hotels, what 5-star hotels do, when you go to a small hotel of 5K or 10K, okay, they are speaking to your physiological needs. They are trying to see how to get things cheap and inexpensive to you, right? But when you go to a 5-star hotel, the language they are speaking is the language of authenticity now, ostentatiousness, because they are selling ego to you, they are selling self-esteem to you, right? So to the poor man, while you are selling basic needs to him, to the rich man, there's a way you go and give a rich. So let me give you an instance. So I was selling perfume, right? So I took it to somebody and I said, this perfume I'm selling is 4,000 naira. The person was very excited and bought it. Then I told another person, this perfume I'm selling is 4,000 naira. You see the way she looked at me, like, just gave me bad eye up to down, like, you want me to come and buy 4,000 naira perfume? Are you trying to insult me? Do you understand? So if I want to sell perfume to that woman now, that same perfume, I can go and package it, put one kind of label on it, and come and tell her that, ma, this perfume is 1 million naira. If you spray this perfume, everybody go know say now you don't come. Aha! You are now touching her esteem. She will buy. Do you understand? But to the poor man, you are going to sell him Gucci perfume of 1 million. Are you joking? Then after that, the next stage is now self-actualization. Okay, where the needs of people is to be seen, to be heard. They want to make impact. They want to touch their world. They want to, fulfillment and all of that. So please, these other theories, please just look at it yourself. Let's just move. So let's move to class exercise. Number 1, let's discuss how motivation influences a person's attitude and behavior in a real world context. Now, the scenario we're using is, imagine a student who is highly motivated to excel in their studies. What type of attitudes and behaviors will he exhibit based on different types of motivation, intrinsic versus extrinsic, and why? So let me break this down in layman terms, okay? So we can quickly brainstorm around this. Imagine a student who is highly motivated to excel in their studies, okay? So that means that this person, he already wants to excel in his studies, right? Okay, so this person already wants to excel in their studies. Now, what kind of behaviors will this person exhibit based on different types of motivation, both intrinsic and extrinsic, and why? So remember, we talked about intrinsic and extrinsic attitudes, right? The things that motivate you intrinsically. And we talked about your personal satisfaction, personal conviction. And then we talked about things that motivate you extrinsically, like money, like food, and all of that, right? Now, how do you now use this intrinsic and extrinsic motivation to gauge behavior in a student that is highly motivated to excel in their studies? Can I drop this as an assignment?
Yes, please.
Mrs.
Yes, please. We can do that.
Okay, so Okay, so let's drop this as an assignment, please, because we are already far behind.
All right. All right.
Now let's look at the psychological effects of health. Okay, psychological effects of health. Now this is a tug of war between the heart and the brain. You know that saying that the heart wants what it wants. So the brain can be doing all of the calculation and all of that there. I know what's good for you and all of that. But let me tell you the truth, it's the heart that will win. That's why you see somebody that is already obese. The doctor is telling him you are going to die if you continue like this. If you don't treat the strongholds of the mind, okay, the value system, the belief system of that person will die of obesity. That's why people know that there's HIV in this world and they still have unprotected sex, promiscuous, in a very promiscuous manner. There are people that can sleep with 5-10 people today, every day of their life, without protection. Why? Their brain, it's not as if their brain does not know what is right though, but the heart wants what it wants. So what is health? Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. So when we talk about good health, we're talking about a state of complete wholeness, both physically, mentally, spiritually, and socially also. Health is influenced by various factors, including genetics, environment, lifestyle, and social connections. Health is a resource for everyday life, not the objective of living. Do you understand? So we need health to do everyday life. It should not be the object of our living. But when we neglect health, we will lose it as a resource for everyday life. And then, of course, it's going to become an objective for living, of living rather. It's going to become your day-to-day assignment. What are the causes of ill health? We have biological factors, we have social factors, we have psychological factors. You know, there are studies that have shown that you can be so bitter, you can harbor so much bitterness that you begin to develop ulcer. Have you come across things like that? You can actually be so malicious at somebody that you begin to have high blood pressure. Like psychological things can affect your physical health. Let's look at causes of health. Biological factors, genetics, infections, congenital conditions. Then we have social and lifestyle factors, your diet, your exercise, substance use, smoking and all of that. Then physical or environmental factors like pollution, living conditions, access to healthcare. And then we have psychosocial factors, stress, mental health, social isolation, and all of that. I think Nigerians have grown a tough skin against psychosocial factors because if not by mental health and stress, Nigerians for don't die finish. That's why for me, I believe that every single Nigerian is mentally resilient because you can't live in this country without mental resilience. Now let's look at fatigue, frustration, and interest. Fatigue speaks to physical or mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress, work, or illness. So we have acute and chronic fatigue, right? And then we have frustration, emotional response to obstacles in achieving goals. And then interest, our psychological engagement in an activity, often related. Sorry, did somebody say something?
I think one may take, but I guess it's a mistake, so you can't just.
Okay. Okay, so interest speaks to psychological engagement in an activity, often related to motivation and well-being. Yeah, let's look at psychosocial factors in health: poverty, hunger, social support, work and living conditions. All of these things can affect your health, right? Then coping mechanisms. What are some of the coping mechanisms that you can use to keep yourself healthy, from stress and all of that, and also either keep yourself healthy or to regain your health? Some of those coping mechanisms is relaxation, okay, taking deep breaths, meditation. I don't believe in yoga. I'm sorry, I'm a Christian. I believe that yoga is demonic and I strongly resist it. Okay, but I believe that spending time with yourself and just as I said earlier, your quiet time in the morning, either as a Christian or a Muslim, you spend time to just, spend time with yourself. If it's possible, you can go out for an early morning walk. So for me, instead of jogging early in the morning, I would prefer to just go out and take a quiet, gentle, calm stroll. I'm not walking very gently, just letting the cool breeze blow on me. These are very good. And let me tell you, like the way that cancer patients, right? When people that really, really have money and when they want to resuscitate them or, cure them of cancer, you will see that these cancer homes, they have like, the afforestation is massive. You have these thick trees, tall trees that are blowing fresh air. Everything is fresh, naturally made, and it's just helping the people, the cancer patients, to detox. Because let me tell you, a lot of the sicknesses that we find on earth right today are caused by even natural factors like bad lifestyle, like the fact that, just like the fact that you are, what's the word now? You are living in a Lagos that does not have trees. Hope you know that trees play a very, very vital part or rather a very vital role in your health. Because, for instance, do you know that the same way you take in oxygen and take out carbon dioxide as waste, right? As dangerous waste from your system. Do you know it is the same way that trees emit oxygen and take in carbon dioxide? So God fashioned the world in such a way that trees are supposed to supply us oxygen and they're supposed to take in carbon dioxide, they're supposed to absorb it. So imagine you are living in a Lagos that there are no trees. They have cut down all the trees and they have sold it all as land for houses, And so now there are no trees to absorb carbon dioxide and there are no trees to emit oxygen. What happens? People begin to fall sick. You now live in Lagos and then you have cancer. Terrible, terrible sicknesses. Why? Bad living conditions. So apart from relaxation and therapy, natural environments also help you. Another coping mechanism is behavioral modification, changing unhealthy behaviors, e.g. smoking, poor diet, through reinforcement and self-regulation. Self-regulation, and examples like the one we told Elizabeth around, regulate yourself by putting an alarm to ensure you are eating at the right time, you're sleeping at the right time, you are relaxing, force yourself to see a good movie. See, I'm telling you the truth. Don't go about watching Nigerian movies. Odogu Parara. They don't add value to your life. Watch movies that will increase your IQ. And then when you talk about this, the men say, hey, maybe we told the women to stop watching Z Word. Let them come and be watching action movies. Action movies don't increase your IQ. There are some good movies, maybe I can share some links, on YouTube that would help you think better. One very good movie I watched is A Beautiful Mind. There are a lot of them. I can share some links of movies that can help you think better, help you improve your IQ. Not just movies about, witchcraft. The father-in-law killed the mother-in-law. Now the mother-in-law has come back for revenge. Her spirit is crossing the main road, and car is even jamming the spirit. Nigerian film. Those kind of funny things. So reinforcement. Then cognitive behavioral techniques, CBT, addressing thought patterns to improve emotional and mental health. So for instance, there's something that when I came to Lagos newly, right, and I was trying to manage a lot of things, I used to feel tired all the time. Tired. If you just ask me, I say, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. I was so tired. I wanted to run back. But I now realize that tiredness, right, has to do more with the mind than the body. Do you know? Let me tell you, if you start saying, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired now, you just realize you're always tired. That's number one. Number two, if you address those things that come up in your mind, those questions or those thoughts that come up in your mind and tell you are tired, and you actually add, okay, what did I do today that I'm tired? Where did I go today that I'm tired? By the time you begin to address those things, you begin to see that tiredness lives in your mind, and you can actually create space to do far more than you are doing currently and be a more productive person. So yeah, it starts from the mind and then it finds expression physically. So the last exercise is, what coping mechanism do you think is most effective for managing stress and why? So I just need 2 or 3 people to tell us the effective way that they manage stress. Out of all of these coping mechanisms we've talked about. Which one are you going to begin to, which one are you going to practice? Is it meditation?
Okay, Mohammed, we've not heard you say anything today. Would you like to attempt this? Mohammed, are you there? You can unmute yourself and respond.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I think,
Yes, go ahead.
I think the best way to reduce stress, or let me say the best way I do, is just to sleep.
Okay.
So, I mean, good sleep.
Okay, good sleep. That's great. Somebody else?
For me, I treat myself with good meal and take a nice shower.
Okay, good meal and nice shower. Wow, that's great.
Meditation too.
Meditation, yeah. That works a lot for me too. All right, so that's where we call it a day. Thank you so much. Before I go, does anybody have a question for me? Let's take 1 or 2 questions. We're already far behind.
Okay, Richard, go ahead. I can see your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead,
Loud
Richard.
and clear.
Okay, thank you so much for this interactive and informative class. Personally, I've learned a lot. So as you were taking us the class this today, I jotted down some questions which I would like to ask you and seek your honest opinion about them. So the first one is, how do I make the best and better use of information I have at hand? Because when you started, you spoke about how we use information. How do I apply the information I acquire? That is, for instance, I have a lot of classes I attend. I have a lot of certification I want to write. I have a lot of things at my fingertip. And at the end of the year, I find out that maybe I've not used up to 30% of it to my advantage. How do I improve on that? Then secondly, like 3 weeks ago, our trainer taught us something, Mr. Lawal. So we had a debate then that leaders are born or leaders are made and not born. And he told us to discuss. And I was happy when you were teaching us this thing, because in philosophy, or is it still in psychology, there's something they call being innate, like innate nature in humans. Then there's also something they call tabula rasa, like maybe the mind is born blank. Is it with experience that you begin to, maybe the experiences you are having, is that what you use to build yourself, or is already innate, ingrained in you? Then the next one is about the René Descartes, which said in French it is "Je pense donc je suis." That is, I think, therefore I am. So sometimes is it not just wishful thinking, like we find ourselves in Nigeria today? The government is against us. We want to be big, we want to make it big, we want to, like you made analogy of those dropouts in the Western world. People like Steve Jobs, like Bill Gates, like they have a functional society. And according to the Maslow hierarchy of need, practically 90% of their needs are met. I would say they are not struggling for electricity, they are not struggling for basic things. So it's at their fingertip. It's easy for them to be great there. Unlike here, whereby we are struggling for basic necessity. So you motivated us while you were teaching this. As an African, we are far behind. We have a lot of track to cover. So how do we individually measure up to this standard? And lastly, is does being big on communication equal to being charismatic? Because there are some guys who call them silver tongue devil. They can sweet talk you, while you were talking about communication. So if you are good in communication, does it equate to that you are charismatic? Let me end the question. Though I have a lot more, but because of our time, let me end it there. Thank you, ma'am. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. So you have asked a lot of
Yeah, that's all.
questions.
I
Hello?
actually have, but I had to just shorten them.
Okay. You have asked a lot of questions, but let's just take it one after the other, right? And see how many we can do, because we're already far behind
Yeah,
schedule. Yes.
all right.
So sorry, can you take the first question again?
Can you hear
Can
me?
you take the first question? Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The first one is how to make the best use of information you have.
Okay. So
How
how
to
do I
make
make the best of information? Okay. So remember I said that when you receive information, right, and you analyze and realize that, okay, this thing that they just told me now, what do I use it to do? Like right now, what's going to be the use of this information? And you see that you don't have need for it, you quickly dump it. Now, but you cannot really ascertain whether you have need for information if you don't have already prioritized needs in your life. So let me explain to you. At every single time in your life, right, it is very key for you to know the things that you are currently developing. So let me explain to you. I might be in a stage in my life where I'm trying to work on my physical health and maybe my financial literacy. You might be in a stage in your life where you're trying to work on your maybe your, what is it called now? You're trying to work on your, what's the word now? Maybe you are trying to work on your spirituality and your social life. You see, now the information that you should be looking out for will be different from the information that I'm looking out for. I will be looking for information that has to do with my physical health and my finances, Why you are looking for information that has to do with your spirituality. Okay, so even having goal focus areas help me to know the information that I need and the ones that I don't need, so that I'm not just going up and down gathering information that I don't even know what I want to use to do. Which is why it is very important for me as an individual and for you as a person to ensure that you have goals. Okay, so for the first month in 2025, what was your goal? What are you trying to achieve? First quarter, what are your goals? First half of the year, what are your goals? Okay, 2025 generally, what are your goals? Because these goals will help me to determine what areas of information and knowledge I should be acquiring, what I should focus on. Because when you don't have goals, then you will now go about gathering information from every nook and cranny that you're not going to do anything with. The problem of the world is not that there are no information. There's information in the world. The problem in the world is that people don't use the information to do anything. Let me tell you the truth. If only you would deploy 2%, not 20%, 2%. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
perfect.
go ahead.
Yes.
So if only I would deploy 2% of all the information that I have, I would have become I will become hot cake by now. But guess what? We continue to gather information that we don't use. So the first thing I would say to you, my brother, is that what are your goal areas? What are the things you want to develop yourself on right now? Those are the information that you should be gathering. Gather informations around your goal areas. That will help you to utilize the information that you are receiving. Don't just go about gathering information, aimlessly and headlessly, but gather information on areas that you have goals and you want to improve on, and that will help you make the best use on applying your information. I hope I've been able to answer the first question.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So what's the second question now?
Okay, the second one is about human being born in it with maybe some skills or some
Okay, so to answer
potential,
those
or are
questions,
we
right?
born blank, tabula rasa?
Okay, so to answer those questions, right? Everyone is born with certain skills, right? Some people are charismatic, they are born charismatic. Some people are born thoughtful. That means they are very, very thoughtful. They think deeply. They have the gift of wisdom. Some people are we all come to this world as raw materials. Then we have the responsibility of turning those raw material into what we want. Do you understand? Everybody has the potential to become a leader. Everybody is a raw material for leadership. But we will not all become great leaders because we will not all hone our skill for leadership. Okay, so yes, it is true that some people's leadership abilities and potentials might be more prominent than others, but it does not mean that the other people cannot fan and hone their leadership skills. So for instance, I can be very charismatic and outspoken, but I'm not wise. I'm not a thoughtful person. I don't think before I do things. So when you see me, you can just look at me and say, this person is a leader. It's just a leader kind of person. But the truth of the matter is that you who might not be so charismatic, you might not be so outspoken, but because you are a thoughtful person, all you have to do is just to sharpen your skills of expressing yourself in public. You will even be a better leader than me that is making noise in the whole place and being charismatic all over the place. Do you understand? So we are all raw materials for leadership. All we need to do is to sharpen the skills
that we have to bring out the best in us. Let me give you a very, sorry, I'm a Christian, so I have some Christian examples, but I believe it will bless everyone. In the Bible, we have Peter, a charismatic figure, right? He's the one shouting on Jesus, telling him, you don't crucify yourself. How will you say you want to die for the sin of the whole world? You will not die, you will live. You know? And he's the charismatic figure. He's the charismatic leader that God puts in charge of the disciples before he ascends back to heaven. But there is John the Beloved, who will always stay with Jesus and ask him questions. Lord, what about this? Lord, what about that? Guess what? It is not Peter who is the charismatic figure or leader that now gives us the revelation that will guide us to the return of Christ. Now ask yourself, between Peter and John the Beloved, who is the real leader? Is it Peter who was opening his chest and shouting and talking, being charismatic? He spoke on the day of Pentecost. 3,000 people gave their life to Christ. Is it him that is the real leader? Or is it John the Beloved who was quiet at the background, but was able to capture the most detailed revelation about Jesus and was even taken to the Isle of Patmos, where he wrote about the things to come and has given us direction about what to expect before the return of Jesus? The answer, both of them are leaders in their own way. All right? One's leadership was needed to help to pilot the affairs of the disciples when Jesus left the world, whilst the other one's leadership was meant to ensure that there was stability and there was that even after the disciples had left, that we, the disciples coming after, will have direction of how to continue living and expecting the return of the Lord Jesus. What am I saying? We all have leadership capabilities, but these leadership capabilities play out in different ways and at different times based on how much we are able to hone the skills that we have inherently. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Perfectly. Thank you so very much for the succinct answer. Very appreciative.
Thank you. So what's the next? I think you have asked
Yes.
two. Is it not enough? Let someone else ask now, Abby.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes. So let's take one or two more questions and then we can round up. Sister Edith,
Okay.
over to you.
Okay, so any more questions? Richard, thank you for your questions. I mean, they have also given room for more insights from our trainer on other aspects. Okay, so thank you very much. Any other question from anyone as we bring the class to a beautiful close? Any questions? Okay, I want to believe there are no more questions. All right. In that case, we are bringing the class to a beautiful close, and let's put a round of applause in the chat room for our trainer today. It's been a wonderful, wonderful class, wonderful experience, wonderful knowledge sharing. And so please, a round of applause, round of applause. Let's appreciate her. Okay. Thank you very much, Sanctified,
Thank you
for
so much.
joining us today, regardless of the short notice, your busy schedule, and you have given us a wonderful experience in class today. So I appreciate on behalf of Transformation College, and we look forward to having you again in other of our upcoming classes, especially sometime in June. So we'll be reaching out again. So
Okay,
thank you
so
very
much.
much. Yes, and have a wonderful weekend ahead. Okay. And then
Thank
to
you.
all our, yeah, you're welcome.
Bless
To
you.
all our students, our tests are still ongoing. Please make sure you take your tests and submit at the due time, and make sure you listen to the recorded classes. All right. Make sure you listen to the recorded classes as the links are shared, and read up the training materials as they are shared with you in preparation for upcoming exams as soon as our studies are over, while the test is also ongoing. All right, we've made it simplified by letting you have access to question decks before the commencement of each test. So that makes it easier for you. Okay, so I think at this juncture, we would say a very big thank you for everyone who joined the class today. And we see you again next week, Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. And for the Christians in our midst, happy Easter. We are still in the mood. And yes, so enjoy your weekend and stay happy, stay blessed. See you again next Saturday.